Chapter 2264. However, Teacher Yi's words were still too late. However, even if it wasn't too late, Bai Mei, who was in a fit of anger, would not listen to him. There was a deafening roar. The training ground was shrouded in dense qi that looked like a spider web. That huge net directly covered the direction where Bai Mei was coming from. Bang! Bai Mei let out a blood-curdling scream as she was sent flying and fell heavily on the ground. He didn't even have time to get up. That huge net had already enveloped her within. Ah! Bai Mei's shrill scream echoed throughout the training ground. Master Bai! The students cried out in fear. The faces of the three masters froze, and they dashed toward Bai Mei. However, the three of them were unable to get close to the large net formed by profound strength. Bai Mei spat out a mouthful of blood. Her injuries were extremely severe. She propped herself up in disbelief as she looked at Dmo Xian. Lord Overlord, why did you? Besides Dmo Xian, there was no one else who could hurt her. Other than Dmo Xian, there was no one else who could create such a huge net to trap her. It was Dmo Xian. Dmo Xian had made a move on her. Bai Mei felt a dull pain in her heart. His gaze suddenly swept to the front of Dmo Xian, the young lady who was smiling like a flower. Bai Mei's brain quivered. Yiqing Luo, it was Yiqing Luo. The reason why Dmo Xian took action against her was because of Yiqing Luo. Why did Dmo Xian want to help Yiqing Luo? Could it be that Dmo Xian had really taken a fancy to Yiqing Luo? At this thought, Bai Mei's heart was filled with intense hatred. Overlord. Fatty Master looked at the situation. It was getting more and more complicated. He looked at Dmo Xian awkwardly. Bai Mei she. Although her temper is a little hot-tempered, but Overlord's action, isn't it? Not too good? The fat teacher said meaningfully. As he spoke, he kept wiping the sweat from his forehead with his hand. He didn't want to come forward to persuade Dmo Xian. He didn't want to step out to accuse Dmo Xian. But Bai Mei was the teacher of the class of God, and she was the sister of that man. The Overlord and that lord had been good friends for many years. This was how he treated Bai Mei. Aren't you worried that the Lord will be angry? Dmo Xian glanced at Fatty Master indifferently. Unfortunately, I'm very satisfied with this student's seduction, and I'm willing to let this student seduce me. Since Master Bai wants to hurt this student, I'll protect my woman. What's wrong with that? That was an understatement. It was an understatement. However, the meaning behind his words was like a clap of thunder that exploded in everyone's hearts. What did Di Zun say? He said, he was satisfied with Yiqing Luo's seduction. And he even personally admitted that Yiqing Luo was his woman? This must be a fake venerable sovereign. The students couldn't believe what they were hearing. The three headmasters were also stunned on the spot. No matter who it was, no one would be able to believe Dmo Xian's words. Dmo Xian's words made Bai Mei, who was trapped in the net, spit out another mouthful of blood. Anger was raging in his heart. Dmo Xian he was actually seduced by Yiqing Luo? Still said that Yiqing Luo was his woman? Yiqing Luo was just a little bean sprout. What qualifications did she have to seduce Dmo Xian? The Overlord must have been bewitched by Yiqing Luo. Bai Mei's eyes were stained with poison as she stared fiercely at Yiqing Luo. Her silver teeth were almost crushed by her clenched teeth. Unexpectedly, while everyone was still in shock. Chapter 2265. The crowd sucked in a mouthful of cold air. Yiqing Luo, wasn't this too arrogant? Did she know who the man in front of her was? Don't you know what the words Di Zun represent? She actually rejected the Overlord. And it was rejected in public. After the shock, everyone's heart was filled with fear and uneasiness. The overlord was such a high and mighty person. To be rejected by a 15-year-old young lady in public. Would he turn angry out of humiliation, and in order to hide this matter, he would slaughter all the witnesses? It was rumored that the overlord was bloodthirsty and cruel, extremely cold and emotionless. In order to protect his own face. There was a possibility that the overlord would really do this. This thought caused everyone to shiver involuntarily. They were all cursing Yi Qing Luo in their hearts. They wondered, where did this woman get her confidence from, to be so arrogant and pampered here? Just because she was Ghost Doctor's disciple, the last that Guiyu was protecting? Did she know that the overlord's status was much more respectable than Guiyu, Ghost Doctor and the rest? The students broke out in cold sweat, and some of them started crying out of fear of death. Yi Qing Luo, you slut! The overlord has taken a liking to you, that's your past life's good fortune. Bai Mei was stunned by Yi Qing Luo's words. Her hatred and anger towards Yi Qing Luo had reached its peak at this moment. She had racked her brains to get the overlord. But the overlord was captivated by that slut Yi Qing Luo. This slut dared to reject the overlord? This was a provocation to her. Was she ridiculing her for not getting what she wanted? The more she thought, the deeper the hatred in Bai Mei's heart. The deeper it was, the deeper Bai Mei's hatred towards Yi Qing Luo grew. Yi Qing Luo naturally didn't miss Bai Mei's growing hatred. Her lips curled as she smiled sweetly. The overlord has taken a liking to me, that means his foresight is good. Her words paused as Yi Qing Luo's gaze was filled with contempt as she sized up the disheveled Bai Mei from head to toe. Following that, she sneered, taking a liking to me is better than taking a liking to an old cow like you. Master Bai, you're half a woman and you still have the cheek to seduce the overlord? You bitch. Bai Mei was so angry that she coughed up blood again. No woman would be able to control their emotions when they heard a woman they hated talking about their age. Yi Qing Luo raised her eyebrows and smiled enchantingly. Don't tell me Master Bai thinks I'm wrong? Let me ask all the men here, who would they choose between an old man and a young and beautiful girl? Everyone lowered their heads, not daring to make a sound. However, many male students silently answered in their hearts, of course he would choose a young and beautiful girl. In front of a young and beautiful girl, who would be interested in old Su? As long as it was a man, they would make the same choice. Everyone sneaked a peek at Dmo Xian. Unexpectedly, the honorable and mysterious overlord was also a vulgar man, just like any other man, based on his appearance. Of course, everyone only dared to ridicule these words in their hearts. Bai Mei was so angry that her vision darkened and she almost fainted. Hee, a low and hoarse chuckle sounded, filled with endless magnetism. Like a feather, it gently tickled the hearts of the crowd. The whole place instantly fell silent. Their gazes turned uniformly towards Dmo Xian. The overlord smiled. What did his smile mean? Chapter 2266. This student is right. Dmo Xian chuckled softly. Right? What's right? What Yi Qing Luo said earlier was that the overlord had taken a liking to her because he had good taste. The overlord's right, was he responding to Yi Qing Luo's words? Or, the overlord felt that Yi Qing Luo's ridicule of Bai Mei as a half-woman was right? The next moment, the overlord personally answered their doubts. This overlord's taste has always been good. The crowd. Why did it feel that the overlord's words were also an admission that he also felt that Bai Mei was a half-woman? Yi Qing Luo nodded satisfactorily and looked at Dmo Xian in satisfaction. This is the overlord. If the overlord was really blind to take a liking to that kind of trash, who knows how others would ridicule him. Not only does it prove that the overlord has good taste, it also proves that the overlord is a real man. The crowd wanted to laugh, but most of them were afraid. Why was Yi Qing Luo so daring? The word she said to the overlord was more daring than the previous one. Did she really think that if the overlord took a liking to her, he wouldn't kill her? After this thought passed, The crowd was slapped in the face again. Their noble overlord really didn't look angry at all. On the contrary, his smile deepened as he looked at Yi Qing Luo without blinking and asked seriously, "Classmate, what do I need to do to make you like me too?" Yi Qing Luo's expression turned serious as she looked at Yi Qing Luo. This must be a fake overlord. Why would the overlord? Why would he use such a tone to talk to a girl? He still wanted to please Yi Qing Luo, to make her like him too. Yi Qing Luo raised her brows. "You seduce me too." Dmo Xian's thin lips curled up frivolously, his peach blossom eyes rippled with spring water. His long arms suddenly wrapped around Yi Qing Luo's slender waist and locked her in his arms. He bent down and kissed her. "Now, have you taken a liking to me?" Dmo Xian chuckled beside her ear. Yi Qing Luo touched her pink lips and nodded satisfactorily. "Not bad, then I'll reluctantly take a liking to you." Class of God students looked like they had opened a dye workshop, colorful and colorful. The three masters were dumbstruck and couldn't keep up with the current development. Whereas the devil class students couldn't help but burst out laughing. Damn! He was fed another mouthful of dog food in front of everyone. Every time Di Zun appeared, they would be fed a mouthful of dog food. But fortunately, this time, it wasn't just the 10 of them who were choked to death by dog food. Look at the colorful faces of the class of God students. Looking at the master's shocked expression. Seeing the master's shocked expression. Qing 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 Luo Qing Qing Luos, their overlord was really filled with love towards Qing Luo. Bye. Qing Bai Bai Qing Tian Mo Qing, Shi. Mo Lord, Qing, Mo, Bai Qing, Shi. Qing, I Lord, Qing, was, Shi Lord. Qing and said. Qing. Looking at Dmo Xian, lowering his head and smiling as he whispered to Yi Qing Luo. Bai Mei was so jealous that she wanted to break the atmosphere. Dmo Xian's cold voice rang, "Since this lord and this student have taken a liking to each other, then this student's matter is also my matter." Bai Mei's heart trembled as she looked at Dmo Xian in disbelief. Chapter 2267. No, don't. Yan Yu's tightly bound body was like a limbless animal on the ground, constantly struggling and squirming. Her face was filled with terror as she looked at Dmo Xian and cried out, "Don't. I'm wrong. I was wrong. Yi Qing Luo, let me off, I promise. I promise that the next time I see you, I will immediately scram." Yan Yu was very clear. If Dmo Xian had not come out, even if he was brought to the dean, she still had a chance to return to the class of gods, a chance to make a comeback. However, if the overlord wanted to punish her, she would not be able to do so. No one in this world could save her. No one could disobey the orders of Di Zun. No, this was not an order at all. Even if it was just a casual word from His Majesty, everyone would regard it as an oracle. If she was taken away to be punished, even if he died, he would be cursed by thousands of people. They might even end up like Zi Qianqian, and even their own clans would be suppressed. She absolutely did not want to become like that. Yan Yu squirmed crazily. He didn't care about his image at all. Yan Yu wasn't the only one who knew the consequences of this matter. Everyone present was very clear about the consequences of offending Dmo Xian. Even Yi Luo, after Dmo Xian said those words, silently stood behind the class of God students. He was afraid that he would be implicated. No one spoke up for Yan Yu again. In the silent training ground, only Yan Yu's cries could be heard. Yi Qing Luo squinted her eyes slightly as she leaned lazily in Dmo Xian's arms, as she disapprovingly glanced sideways at Yan Yu and smiled faintly. "Student Yan Yu, you think too highly of me. I merely wanted to ask you to cooperate with the investigation. Why do you look as though you're about to die?" She paused for a moment, and then covered her mouth and exclaimed, "Could it be that you've really colluded with the underworld forces, and that's why you're afraid of the Special Investigations Department finding out the truth? I didn't. I really didn't. Yan Yu cried and shook his head. Please let me go. I really know I was wrong. Yiqing Luo's brows rose as her smile revealed a sliver of impatience. Student Yan, you must have begged the wrong person. I have no enmity with you, so why should I let you off? Moreover, as long as you are innocent, why should you be afraid of being investigated? Yan Yu shook her head. Her tears had already smeared the makeup on her face, making it look extremely comical. She had never had any contact with the dark forces. How could he be afraid of an investigation? What she was afraid of was Yiqing Luo using the name of investigation to completely destroy her. This student, don't disturb this sovereign's woman. Dmo Xian saw Yiqing Luo's impatience as he shot a cold glance towards Yan Yu. His voice suddenly turned icy cold. Still not bringing her down? The headmaster recovered from his shock. Suppressing the shock in his heart, Teacher Yi strode forward and said, I will go now. No. Teacher Yi, save me. Teacher Yi, save me. After Yan Yu was lifted up, he screamed hysterically. Hold on. Yiqing Luo suddenly spoke. Trembling with fear, Teacher Yi halted his steps. He heard Yiqing Luo speaking calmly. Director had offended the High Profound Hall's Hall Master and has already been ordered by the High Profound Hall's Hall Master to reflect on the wall for 3 days, so I'm afraid there's no way to investigate this matter. Teacher Yi's expression changed slightly as his voice trembled. Then send her to the Faculty Council and let the President of the Faculty Council carry out the investigation. When Director returns from his reflection, this matter will be resolved. He paused, as though he was asking, Student Yiqing Luo, what do you think? Faculty Council? Chapter 2268. Faculty Council, Simu Yen. The president of the Faculty Council who had some relations with a certain protector from the dark forces. Sending her to the Faculty Council was indeed a good decision. Teacher Yi heaved a sigh of relief. Afraid of being implicated by this matter, he immediately carried Yan Yu and dashed towards the entrance of the class of gods. He was really afraid of today. For a long period of time in the future, he was going to have a psychological trauma towards the physical fitness training ground. Yan Yu was still wailing. Until she was dragged away by Teacher Yi, no one spoke out to plead for her. Yan Yu's heart was crying out in frustration. Towards Yiqing Luo, she hated her even more. And that useless Bai Mei. If it wasn't for Bai Mei, that slut, she wouldn't have ended up in such a state. It was Bai Mei who insisted on showing off the power behind her, competing with Yiqing Luo on how to bully others. She even invited the Overlord over, which led to her being personally mentioned by the Overlord to spare no effort to punish her. Yan Yu apparently didn't expect this. Right from the start, she was the one who took the initiative to seek help from Bai Mei. Her heart was filled with hatred towards Yiqing Luo, hatred towards Bai Mei. After Yan Yu was brought away, the training ground fell into a deathly silence once again. No one dared to speak first. Dmo Xian lowered his head, his deep eyes gazed at the young lady in his arms, his elegant face, the lines were extremely gentle. Lil Luo, you must be tired today, go back and rest. Yiqing Luo stretched out her arms towards him, hug me if you want. Dmo Xian smiled to satisfy her. That kind of pampering almost blinded the eyes of the surrounding students. Only Ghost Doctor and Guiyu, as well as the Devil class's students, bore a look as though they were already used to it. Dmo Xian carried Yiqing Luo, walking towards the direction of the small path. Bai Mei panicked, she was still trapped in the big net, as she screamed shrilly, Overlord. Overlord, you. Let me out, treating me like this, aren't you afraid that I'll complain to sister? Dmo Xian's footsteps halted. When Bai Mei saw this, her eyes lit up, Overlord, you promised sister that you'll take good care of me, for a slut. She had yet to finish her curses. acutely sensing that the pressure on Dmo Xian's body had sunk considerably. She came back to her senses and stopped herself from blurting out the words. She changed her words, "You hurt me so much just for a little girl. If my sister knew about this, she would be bitterly disappointed." Dmo Xian hugged Yiqing Luo as he slowly turned his head. His brows were slightly furrowed and his expression was a little cold, revealing a sharpness. His peach blossom eyes were as deep as the sea. Bai Mei's body suddenly stiffened, and her expression became extremely ugly. Gradually, she began to tremble in fear. Obviously, Dmo Xian did not utter a single word. But Bai Mei was totally unable to restrain her fear towards Dmo Xian. "You said it yourself, that's your sister. How this lord treats you has nothing to do with your sister." Dmo Xian's thin lips parted slightly. The words he spat out were also extremely cold. Bai Mei trembled and did not dare to speak. Yiqing Luo bit her pink lips with interest and pinched Dmo Xian's face with her little hand. "Overlord, one Master Bai is not enough, you even brought his sister? May I ask, who is this sister?" Dmo Xian lowered his head and looked at Yiqing Luo, his thin lips revealed a smile. "Why? Are you jealous?" Dmo Xian's voice just landed. Bai Mei seemed to have caught a breakthrough point as she screamed shrilly, "Yiqing Luo, you didn't hear wrongly. My sister and Overlord's relationship is not something you can interfere with." Chapter 2269. Seeing Yiqing Luo's hand pinching Dmo Xian's face. Not only was Dmo Xian not infuriated, his brows were filled with gentleness. But when Dmo Xian faced her, it was as if he had fallen into an icehouse. Why, on what basis did Yiqing Luo, that slut who only knew how to bully others, other than her pretty face, was able to gain Dmo Xian's attention? Even if she couldn't get it, she would not allow Yiqing Luo to be together with Dmo Xian happily. Which woman would not mind that the man she loved had other relationships with other women? Even if they didn't say it out loud, they would still feel a knot in their hearts. Furthermore, the relationship between the Overlord and her sister was something that the Overlord was unable to explain clearly to Yiqing Luo. The more he explained, the more Yiqing Luo would misunderstand. The minute Yiqing Luo misunderstood the Overlord. Between them, can they still be happy together? No, absolutely not. It was just as Bai Mei had predicted. After she yelled those words, Yi Zichen's expression changed. Dmo Xian's expression suddenly sunk. His ruthless gaze fell on her. There seemed to be a whirlpool in his ink-black eyes. Bai Mei was so shocked that she seemed to have lost all her strength and collapsed to the ground. She was terrified. She knew that her words had infuriated Dmo Xian. But more than that, he couldn't suppress his ecstasy. Dmo Xian's expression clearly explained. Her words would definitely incite the conflict between him and Yiqing Luo. Anyway, for the sake of his sister, Dmo Xian would never kill her. At most, he would receive some punishment. As long as Yiqing Luo and Dmo Xian were separated. So what if he had to suffer a little punishment? This was the first time the two of them had met and gotten to know each other. Especially for a young lady like Yiqing Luo. It was too easy to misunderstand because Dmo Xian had other relationships with other women, thus provoking Dmo Xian. Bai Mei's thoughts. How could Yiqing Luo possibly not tell? But what made Yiqing Luo surprised was Dmo Xian's expression when Bai Mei mentioned that sister. It could be seen that Dmo Xian indeed had an unusual relationship with Bai Mei's sister. Of course, she and Dmo Xian had experienced many things, big and small. They were willing to give up their lives for each other. She would naturally believe in Dmo Xian. Looking at Dmo Xian's gloomy expression, while Yiqing Luo raised her head to look at Dmo Xian's side profile with an astonished look, Bai Mei plucked up her courage and sneered, "Young lady, as someone who has been through it, let me give you a piece of advice, don't think too highly of yourself. In His Majesty's eyes, you are nothing but a toy. You will never be able to overcome the relationship between His Majesty and my sister. Bai Mei's words had several layers of meaning. Firstly, she used the words, experienced, to indicate that she and Dmo Xian had an unusual relationship. She was provoking Yi Qing Luo and using her own sister to infuriate her. However, after Yi Qing Luo heard Bai Mei's hysterical sneer, there was not the slightest bit of emotion on her face. Her tone was so calm that it was almost impossible to tell what she was feeling. Oh! Bai Mei was startled. Everyone was taken aback. Oh? What does "oh" mean? Did she not understand the meaning behind Bai Mei's words? Or, Yi Qing Luo didn't like Dmo Xian. In order to provoke Bai Mei, she intentionally seduced Dmo Xian. So, Yi Qing Luo didn't care what relationship Dmo Xian and Bai Mei's sister had? But even if she didn't like him now, it didn't mean that she wouldn't like him in the future. This was the Overlord. Chapter 2270. Bai Mei's venomous gaze almost swallowed Yi Qing Luo. She was just a 15-year-old girl. Why was her heart so strong? No matter how she tried to provoke her, she couldn't arouse Yi Qing Luo's emotions. Looking at Yi Qing Luo's indifferent face, leaning lazily in Dmo Xian's arms, one of her fingers hooked a lock of Dmo Xian's hair, twining it in her hand. Yi Qing Luo also deliberately tugged his hair from time to time. However, Dmo Xian didn't show any signs of anger. Instead, he looked at Yi Qing Luo with doting eyes. Even if Yi Qing Luo sometimes used a little too much strength and pulled Dmo Xian's scalp, Dmo Xian still had a doting smile on his lips, allowing the girl to do whatever she wanted to him. His heart was about to go crazy with jealousy. His anger was surging, he couldn't wait to rush out and pull the two apart. Yi Qing Luo casually met Bai Mei's gaze. Her hands suddenly hooked around Dmo Xian's neck. Her smile was full of obvious provocation and ridicule. Master Bai, do you think I will treat your sister as a competitor? Bai Mei's throat tightened, her anger was monstrous but she couldn't explode. Yi Qing Luo continued to smile, but, Master Bai, you are already so old, your sister is older than you. I also said, my Xian only likes young and beautiful girls like me, you, and your sister don't have this chance. Yi Qing Luo's voice was sweet and melodious. Her tone was extremely calm, extremely careless. But what she said almost made Bai Mei vomit blood. Just because you are young, you want to seduce the Overlord? You trash. At most one day, the Overlord will be tired of you. What are you so proud of? Yi Qing Luo raised her eyebrows and looked at her smilingly. Yes, I am just relying on my young age, you can't win even if you want to. She paused and looked up, her eyes curved as she gazed at the elegant face in front of her. As for when the Overlord will be tired of me, it is not up to you to decide. She blinked her eyes and smiled extremely brightly. Ah Xian, you say. When will you be tired of me? Not waiting for Dmo Xian to answer, Bai Mei roared angrily, You! Who gave you permission to call the Overlord's name so intimately? Even her sister couldn't call the sovereign by his name. Yi Qing Luo was just a slut, what right did she have to call Dmo Xian's name so intimately? A slut will always be a slut. Yi Qing Luo still had a beaming smile on her face as she hooked her arms around Dmo Xian's neck and acted coquettishly. Ah Xian, you just say it, when will you get tired of me? She had purposely used that voice of hers. She repeatedly shouted, Ah Xian. After she finished shouting, Yi Qing Luo felt goosebumps all over her body. The group of students from Devil class all shuddered. Damn it, that Qing Luo earlier was simply too scary. Bai Mei's face was so twisted that her original facial features could no longer be seen. She looked like an evil ghost from hell, extremely terrifying. Following that, a voice that was as clear as water yet had traces of warmth resounded in this strange atmosphere. I won't get tired of you for the rest of my life. That voice was like waves of water ripples, dizzying the air, piercing through everyone's eardrums and right into their hearts. Everyone was shocked. This sentence was said by the Overlord. The Overlord was replying to Yiqing Luo's words. He said that he would never get tired of Yiqing Luo for the rest of his life. This was considered as a confession in front of everyone? The Overlord was really. Chapter 2271. Devil Class's Students. Damn it, they were stuffed with a mouthful of dog food in public again. Could they still play happily? Class of God's students. Damn it, what kind of luck did this female student from the lower class have? Why was her luck so good? First it was Ghost Doctor, then it was Guiyu, and now there was a love at first sight, the Overlord. This young lady was simply a winner in life. The students expressed their jealousy but they didn't dare to show it out. Dmo Xian's words successfully pleased Yiqing Luo. She gave a satisfied smile as she raised her hand, as though it was a reward, as she caressed Dmo Xian's face, but Xian, this lifetime. I'm not satisfied. Then the next lifetime, the life after that, the lifetime after that. Dmo Xian's low and hoarse voice rang, without any hesitation. Yiqing Luo nodded her head vigorously as she leaned forward and kissed his lips. Be good, this is your reward. Dmo Xian's dark eyes were dull as he stared deeply at Yiqing Luo's pink lips. That expression, Yiqing Luo could tell what Dmo Xian was thinking about. She laughed lightly as her charming eyes swept the surroundings. Suddenly she blinked as she leaned into Dmo Xian's arms. Ah Xian, I feel so tired. Dmo Xian carried her up horizontally. Yiqing Luo's hands hooked around his neck. Her head leaned against his chest as she closed her eyes. The two's actions seemed as though they had practiced for hundreds, thousands of times. Just like that, they leaned against each other steadily. It inexplicably made one feel that he was a good match for her. His wife said she was tired. Dmo Xian, who pampered his wife like his life, couldn't be bothered about the others as he carried Yiqing Luo and turned around to leave. He didn't care how Bai Mei was shouting and screaming behind him. Looking at the backs of the two people leaving. Devil Class's crowd covered their eyes as they heaved a sigh of relief. The two lovey-dovey people had finally left. They were about to be stuffed to death. Until Dmo Xian carried Yiqing Luo and ran far away. Guiyu then reacted to it. F***K. I had just made my debut and that lad actually came out to snatch my limelight. Ghost Doctor glanced at old man Guiyu indifferently. I've found my place, I've given my backing, I'm going back. We are the real saviors who came to save Luoyu. Why do we have to make way for that brat? I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. Old man Guiyu expressed his dissatisfaction. When he and Ghost Doctor found out that Yiqing Luo had suffered grievances in the God class, they dropped whatever they were doing and hurriedly rushed over. He had wanted to support his daughter and suppress those arrogant students from the class of gods. But, Dmo Xian, that brat, why did he appear so coincidentally? Every minute, they would be robbed of all their credit. The Ghost Doctor's sinister eyes flickered. Our debt of standing up for the girl, counted on Dizun. Old man Guiyu rubbed his nose. That's a must. When the students of the class of gods heard the conversation between Guiyu and the Ghost Doctor, they felt a lingering fear. Guiyu called the venerable sovereign, that kid. The Ghost Doctor actually didn't stop him. Although the Dizun had gone far away, he was still a Dizun. What if the venerable sovereign returned? Hearing Guiyu's rude words, wouldn't he be punished at any minute? Wait a minute. Yiqing Luo, Guiyu and the Ghost Doctor's relationship. They were a family. Guiyu called the venerable sovereign Kid. Could it be? Chapter 2272. That Overlord and your class's student Yiqing Luo, do you know each other? The devil class students turned their heads and looked at the person who asked the question. The class of God students immediately averted their eyes, indicating that this question was not what they wanted to ask. But all of them pricked up their ears, which indicated that they were very concerned about this question. The devil class students' lips curled up as they gave a distant but polite smile. What do you think? They felt. The two of them definitely had something going on a long time ago. Looking at the atmosphere between Yiqing Luo and the Overlord. No matter how they looked at it, it didn't seem like the first time they met. The two of them stood together and the air was filled with an inexplicable sourness of love. Smelly. No matter how they looked at it, they were a perfect match. Absolutely not the first time they met. But, they didn't dare to say it out loud. After all, the male lead in this incident was the high and mighty Overlord. The Overlord was not someone they could make up stories about. The students of Devil class smiled mysteriously at them again. Then in an orderly manner, they walked towards the three dazed masters. Masters, today's special training has ended, let's return to the academy to tidy ourselves up. May I know when we will gather tomorrow? The three masters were still in a daze. Dmo Xian and Yiqing Luo's scene was too shocking. Long Yunzhan had asked twice but the three masters didn't answer. Until the third time, Bai Mei's sharp and ear-piercing roar awakened the three of them. All of you get out of the class of God. We, the class of God, do not welcome this kind of bullying students. Bai Mei vented her hatred towards Yiqing Luo onto the devil class students. Fatty Master coughed violently. His eyes, which were like slits, looked at the 10 devil class students who were standing in a neat row in front of him, respectfully. These students were all Yiqing Luo's classmates and brothers. It wasn't hard to tell that they were very united. Their relationship with Guiyu and Ghost Doctor was also extremely close. What's more, when they met the Overlord, they had never been timid or knelt down. They were masters. Masters from the upper realm. And in the lower realm, they had searched for so many elite cultivators for the upper realm. Naturally, they knew more than those students. Naturally, he could tell. It was absolutely not the first time the Overlord and Yiqing Luo had met each other. To be able to make the Overlord put down everything and accompany Yiqing Luo to fool around. The relationship between them, they must have an extraordinary relationship. These devil class students, the masters naturally did not dare to slight them. Gather here at 5 in the morning, the fat teacher replied. The students of devil class thanked him politely. Just as he was about to leave, he was called back by the fat teacher. You, although you have a close relationship with the adults, but, you are here for special training. You still, have no right to ask us to give you special treatment. So. The fat master chose his words carefully. The students of devil class smiled. Masters, we naturally understand this. Our motive for coming here is to make ourselves stronger, to raise our own abilities, we don't need any special treatment. The fat teacher heaved a sigh of relief and nodded. That's good. You should hurry up, wait. Long Yunzhan suddenly said coldly. He raised his azure blue eyes and stared deeply at Fatty Master. I hope, you can give our devil class some special treatment. The fat master's expression changed slightly. Chapter 2273. Students, this request, forgive us, we really can't agree. Teacher E walked over and said with a heavy expression, in other matters, the class of gods will try our best to satisfy you, but, in special training, no one can be special. This was their insistence on their own teaching methods. It was also their attitude toward special training. even if the overlord personally asked. They would never compromise on the matter of special training. I hope that the special training of our devil class can be stricter. Long Yunzhan looked at the three masters one by one. The masters' solemn expressions loosened and they looked at him in surprise. Did they hear wrongly? The special treatment requested by the devil class, was it stricter on them? Long Yunzhan looked at the trio's expressions of disbelief and nodded his head seriously. Yes, I hope that in this month, our devil class's special training will be stronger than the usual special training of the class of gods. Teacher Shenqing coughed lightly. Children, do you know what special training the class of gods goes through? How much stronger, your bodies? We have no problem. Long Yunzhan said calmly, since I brought it up to you, I am naturally mentally prepared. The other 9 devil class students smiled. Teacher, we have said before that our main purpose in coming to the class of gods is to become stronger. Don't worry if we can handle it, if we can't, we will not force it. 10 devil class students bowed down respectfully towards the 3 masters in unison. The 3 teachers looked at each other and saw helplessness in each other's eyes. They could not reject the student's request. All right, since this is your request, we will gradually increase the intensity of your special training. If you can't handle it, you can stop at any time. Thank you, teacher. The students of the devil class bowed respectfully and left the training grounds. The students of the class of gods looked like they had gone through a big battle. Their uniforms were soaked in sweat. They fell to the ground, panting. Shenqing looked at the direction the students left in, this group of students. I am really interested, I want to go and understand them. Yes, go and look for Yenmu to take a look at the information of the devil class. I have been a teacher for over 10 years and this is the first time that I can't understand the students. Fat teacher nodded. No matter if it was Yiqing Luo's backing or her forces. It was still the students from the devil class. They were all incomparably shocked. As teachers, they could naturally see the talent and aptitude of each student. Other than Long Yunzhan, Qiao Jin, Kitty Li and Mo Yuing, the talents of these 4 people were a little blurry and hazy. As for the other 6, their aptitudes were not bad. But compared to the students from the class of gods, they were clearly miles apart. However, as luck would have it, these students could only be regarded as above-average students. Yet, he was able to easily complete special training missions that even the students of the class of gods couldn't complete. Just what secrets were they hiding? Or could it be that they had experienced some sort of change before? That was why it had become so mysterious and peculiar. Heavenly Academy, Yiqing Luo Dormitory. Yiqing Luo washed off all the perspiration on her body and casually put on a red inner garment before returning to the bed. Dmo Xian laid on the side of the bed in an extremely seductive posture. A head of ribbon-like black hair covered the entire bed. That magnificent face seemed to bear the endless pampering of the world. Chapter 2274. Yiqing Luo didn't argue as she placed her hand into his palm. The man's wrist exerted strength. Yiqing Luo fell into his arms. Her nostrils were filled with his elegant sandalwood scent. She rubbed her little face against his chest, extremely reluctant to leave. Her kitten-like expression made Dmo Xian's face reveal a joyful expression. His lips curled as he gave a low laugh. What's the matter? Not happy. Yiqing Luo replied honestly. Dmo Xian's large palm held her face. With Ghost Doctor and Gue Yu supporting you from the front, I also cooperated with your performance from the back and taught the person you wanted to teach a lesson. Why are you still not happy? Yiqing Luo pursed her pink lips as she stared at him. You know the answer but still ask. Dmo Xian laughed lightly again. His long arm grabbed, pulling Yiqing Luo into his arms. He was laughing. His chest was heaving up and down. The luxurious brocade robe's patterns caressed her delicate skin. Yiqing Luo struggled as her pink fists hung on his chest. Dmo Xian. Laugh again and you'll sleep at the entrance tonight. Dmo Xian hugged her petite body tightly. He lowered his head. Mo Yao's pupil seemed like it was decorated with bright stars and ripples after ripples of water. It was extremely captivating. Yiqing Luo's heart, under this gaze, suddenly tightened. You're angry that I didn't tell you about me in the God class. Dmo Xian's fingertips gently caressed her skin. Bit by bit. As though under his fingertips was this world's peerless treasure. Yiqing Luo pursed her lips silently agreeing. You're not happy because you don't know what relationship I have with Bai Mei's sister. Because you know, I indeed really care about her sister. Dmo Xian continued. His tone was gentle, as though water could be squeezed out. Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased as she became even more displeased. Dmo Xian lifted her lower jaw lightly as his gentle and affectionate gaze directly collided into Yiqing Luo's eyes, heart, limbs and bones. Yiqing Luo's eyelashes fluttered as she wanted to hide. However, the man's strength was too great, and she couldn't retreat at all. The reason why I'm in the class of gods, one of the reasons, is because of that map. Dmo Xian explained word by word gently, his eyes filled with indulgence, without a hint of impatience. That map, Dmo Xian said that the profound flames Dubhe diagram would cause the entire world to fall into an endless war. Was there anything related to the arcane flames Dubhe diagram in the class of gods? Don't think too much, you just need to protect yourself and keep the secret of the map. Leave the rest to me. Dmo Xian lowered his head and planted a light kiss on her forehead. Yiqing Luo was filled with questions, but after Dmo Xian's words, she swallowed them back. Dmo Xian was unwilling to say. No matter how she asked, she couldn't get anything out of him. She knew that the reason why Dmo Xian did not say anything was for her own good. However, in his heart, he always felt depressed. Looking at Yiqing Luo's pair of bright eyes, the light gradually dimmed. Dmo Xian used his chin to rub against her forehead. Secondly, the most important reason why I'm in the class of gods is that you're coming to the class of gods for special training and I can still be here to see you. You? Where are you going? Why did these words sound so strange? Yiqing Luo suddenly straightened up and pushed Dmo Xian away. Kneeling by his side, she stared at him. From your tone, it seems like you're not coming back for half a month. Dmo Xian obediently fell back onto the bed. His silky black hair scattered all over the bed. The man's elegant appearance was like a demon, emitting an irresistible evil charm. Star. Chapter 2275. A monster. What a torturous little demon. Yiqing Luo cursed silently in her heart. However, his face was still expressionless, and his eyes were full of resentment. I have to leave the Nirvana realm for a while and won't be back for a while. Dmo Xian didn't hide anything. Leave the Nirvana realm? Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased slightly as she grabbed his palm with both hands, because of the map. Yes, but not entirely. Dmo Xian clasped her wrist and pulled her into his arms. His long and narrow eyebrows were slightly raised, forming a demonic arc. His peach blossom eyes glowed with a myriad of splendor that rippled like water. He stroked the hair of the girl in his arms, his voice calm and magnetic. During this period of time, focus on your special training in the class of gods. Don't worry about anything else. Don't bother yourself with anything else. Wait for my return. Nestled in the man's arms, Yiqing Luo symbolically struggled for a while. Hearing the news that Dmo Xian was going to leave the Nirvana realm for a period of time, Yiqing Luo's heart had an indescribable feeling of uneasiness. She hugged Dmo Xian's firm waist and pouted gloomily, "Then when are you coming back?" "Very soon." Dmo Xian didn't give a specific time but answered with two firm words. Yiqing Luo gave a soft moan as her little head rubbed against his chest. She did not have the intention to force Dmo Xian to stay. Dmo Xian was willing to give her the space to grow. She would also give Dmo Xian the freedom to solve his problems. Dmo Xian's identity was a mystery. His arrogance and disdain for everything seemed to be innate. With her current level, there was no way she could provide him with any help. She could not delay Dmo Xian. But Yiqing Luo was even more determined in her belief. She had to pick up the pace. She wanted to be a woman who would make the world feel that she was worthy of Dmo Xian. Just like on the training ground. No one believed that Dmo Xian would fancy her. Even if he had taken a fancy to it. In everyone's eyes, it was just a game. Because no one felt that she was worthy of Dmo Xian. That was right, Dmo Xian was so noble and mysterious. He didn't seem like someone from the mortal world. She wanted to chase after Dmo Xian's footsteps. It would take a long time, a very long time, don't let your imagination run wild. Dmo Xian abruptly lifted her delicate body up. We cultivators have a longer lifespan than ordinary people. We have plenty of time, don't be anxious, I'll wait for you. His tone was gentle, filled with confidence and trust from the bottom of his heart. The gentle voice easily pierced into Yiqing Luo's heart. Yiqing Luo's eyes turned slightly sour as her lips curled into a brilliant smile, burying her head into his neck. I will do my best. Dmo Xian patted her head. After hugging for a while, Yiqing Luo's thoughts returned and suddenly her expression changed as she tugged at Dmo Xian's collar. Wait. Why did the topic suddenly change so much? You, don't even think of using sweet words to change the topic. Tell me honestly, what kind of secret do you have with Bai Mei's sister? Leniency for those who confess, severity for those who resist. Dmo Xian's honey trap. He could flirt with her until she forgot about him. He had almost forgotten about the most important question. A woman's possession was no less than a man's. Especially the man she loved. In front of Bai Mei, she casually expressed that Sister Bai Mei was very old and she wasn't worried. But in fact, Dmo Xian's reaction towards Sister Bai Mei made her heart feel a knot. Yiqing Luo wasn't a pretentious person. Chapter 2276. After all, if the two of them were together, if there was any unhappiness, they could talk it out face to face. This was the best solution. Otherwise they would keep it in their hearts. The more they held it in, the more things they would imagine and the sadder their hearts would be. Over time, once it exploded, their feelings would be impacted and cracks would form. Yiqing Luo knelt beside Dmo Xian. She could clearly see the expression on Dmo Xian's face. When she mentioned Bai Mei's sister, Dmo Xian's pair of shimmering eyes flashed obviously. It wasn't easy to detect but Yiqing Luo caught it. Her pink lips pursed even tighter. She wasn't suspecting that Dmo Xian had some special feelings for Bai Mei's sister. But it was extremely not, this feeling of not knowing anything. She could ignore Dmo Xian's overly secretive and important matters. But this matter concerned women. Yiqing Luo didn't want to be isolated and ignorant. Bai Mei's sister. Her identity, I can't tell you for now. Dmo Xian sighed softly as he lowered his eyes and held her hand, gently caressing it. Yiqing Luo's brows creased, all the unhappy and unpleasant emotions were clearly displayed on her face. Dmo Xian sighed again. He got up slightly and put his arm around Yiqing Luo's shoulder, but I can tell you, towards her, I only admire. Admiration? This word, coming out from Dmo Xian's mouth, really made one rather shocked. The person whom Dmo Xian admired, what kind of person would that be? He used the word admire. It was enough to show that Dmo Xian indeed had no such thoughts towards Bai Mei's sister. He only treated her as an elder and respected her. Elder. Yiqing Luo thought of Bai Mei's half-aged, half-feminine face, as she couldn't help but burst out laughing with a pft sound. She didn't know where Bai Mei got her courage from, to dare to have improper thoughts towards Dmo Xian. What's more, she even gave her own sister to Dmo Xian. Dmo Xian narrowed his peach blossom eyes as he spoke in a low voice, "Happy now?" "Still not happy." Yiqing Luo arrogantly raised her little chin and snorted, "A lot of those feelings, all start from admiration. Now, it's admiration, but after you admire her more and more, you won't be able to forget her in your heart, and then. And then what?" Dmo Xian's thin lips curved upwards as he asked in a low and hoarse voice. Yiqing Luo was bewitched by his smile as her little heart pounded wildly. She bit her pink lips and her voice became softer. "Then, you ran away with her." Dmo Xian leaned forward and his husky magnetic laughter tickled her eardrums bit by bit. "Didn't you say that I like this type of young and pretty little beauty?" Bai Mei was already so old. Wasn't her sister even older? Why would I run away with her? I don't care. Anyway, other than me, you can't give any feelings to other women. Yiqing Luo was as overbearing as a child, her little hand clutched Dmo Xian's collar as she pouted. This kind of coquettish act made Dmo Xian's heart melt. It was Dmo Xian's first time seeing this. Seeing the seriousness in the girl's eyes, he couldn't help but laugh out loud. Lil Luo cared so much about her. Possession Valley owed so much. This also meant that she had truly treated him as her man. Lil Luo's character, she understood it all too well. Dmo Xian's long and narrow peach blossom eyes curved as he looked at Yiqing Luo with a grin. "Lil Luo is so overbearing, then, have you thought of what method to use, to give all my feelings to you alone?" Chapter 2277. Yiqing Luo stared at Dmo Xian. How could he not understand the deep meaning behind Dmo Xian's words? This man really knew how to take a mile when given an inch. Although he was complaining in his heart. However, when he met that pair of smiling peach blossom eyes, her heart softened a little. She glared at Dmo Xian again in annoyance. She tugged at Dmo Xian's collar as she bent down and bit down hard on Dmo Xian's lips. Then, he stood up and snorted, "I've stamped my mark here, so you're mine." Dmo Xian laughed heartily as he leaned against the headboard. His slender fingers glowed with flowing fluorescent light. Bit by bit, he wiped his lips. He chuckled like a fox. "That's all? You still want a foot after giving me an inch? Believe it or not, I will kick you off the bed right now." Yiqing Luo's cheeks were slightly red as she lifted her leg to kick Dmo Xian. Dmo Xian's large palm easily caught Yiqing Luo's little feet. Yiqing Luo struggled and shook her legs, but the man refused to let go. She just came out of the shower. Her two fair feet were caught in Dmo Xian's palm. Yiqing Luo's face turned even redder as she couldn't help but call out, "Dmo Xian." Dmo Xian's lips curled into a sinister smile. His eyes were gloomy as he stared at his palm, at the snow-white, delicate and lovely feet. Suddenly, he slowly pressed his lips on the instep of his foot. Yiqing Luo's breathing seemed to have stopped. Her eyes widened, and when she came back to her senses, she wanted to pull her leg back even more. The glint in Dmo Xian's eyes turned darker and darker. Some kind of emotion was stirring in his heart. His low and hoarse voice was like a scorching fire, wrapping around Yiqing Luo. "Lil Luo, are you sure, you want to buy my feelings just like that?" Yiqing Luo knew that he did it on purpose. He wanted her to take the initiative. She gritted her teeth and looked at the devilish smile on the face of unparalleled beauty in front of her. She suddenly pounced forward and pressed onto Dmo Xian. "Dmo Xian. See if I don't make you hover between life and death. The next day, Yi Qing Luo was hovering between life and death when she was shaken awake by Kitty Li. Her whole body was sore and limp. He opened his sleepy eyes and saw a cute and delicate little face in front of him. The two ears on the top of her head were still twitching non-stop. Yi Qing Luo stretched out her hand and stroked Kitty Li's head before hugging her in her arms. Kitty cat, accompany me to continue sleeping for a while. Sister. Li's little claws pried Yi Qing Luo's hand away. Get up quickly, we're about to gather at the class of gods. The fat teacher said that we must gather before the hour of the morning. No one is allowed to be late. Class of gods? Gather? Yi Qing Luo's chaotic mind suddenly cleared up. She sat up on the bed. What time is it now? You have the time it takes for an incense stick to burn to prepare. Kitty Li puffed up her cheeks. The Overlord really doesn't know how to care for you. He knows that we still need special training, but he still tortures you like this. Yi Qing Luo blushed as she cupped Kitty Li's little face and rubbed it hard. Kitty cat, you're still a child, don't talk about such a mature topic. Kitty Li let out a meow meow sound, her little claws flapping about. Yi Qing Luo let go of her face. Be good, go wait outside, I'll be out soon. Kitty Li reluctantly walked out of Yi Qing Luo's room. Yi Qing Luo endured the soreness and limp body and climbed up. The bedding on the bed had been changed into a new one. Her uniform was hanging by the side, even the underwear was prepared in an orderly manner. Yi Qing Luo blushed. Chapter 2278. Yi Qing Luo's face was filled with disdain, but she was actually overjoyed as she quickly put on her clothes. In her mind, she was still recalling the words Dmo Xian said when he left while hugging her. Dmo Xian said that before he returned, Bai Mei would not have the chance to appear in front of her. The teachers and students in Class of Gods would definitely not dare to go against Devil Class. In Class of Gods, he had a friend who was a student in Class of Gods. If he was not around and met with any unsolvable problems, he could look for that friend for help. Yi Qing Luo was in a daze from Dmo Xian's torment and didn't listen to him at all. Now that she was awake, she recalled what Dmo Xian said. She was slightly stunned. Friend? Student? Dmo Xian's friend in Class of Gods? And a student? Why didn't she feel that any student in Class of Gods was friends with Dmo Xian at the training ground? Dmo Xian seemed to have said something at the end. She was in a daze and didn't hear it clearly. Hearing Kitty Li's urging from outside, Yi Qing Luo shook her head. Let's not think about these things for now. She must rush to the training ground before 5 in the morning. She had just been in the limelight in Class of Gods yesterday. If she was late today, it would only make the students in Class of Gods even more certain that she was bullying others. After a quick tidying up, Yi Qing Luo dragged Kitty Li and headed towards Class of Gods' courtyard. When they reached the training ground, it was exactly 5 in the morning. Not considered late. Yi Qing Luo heaved a sigh of relief as she looped one arm around Kitty Li's shoulder and panted heavily. Upon seeing this, the students of Devil Class, one by one, they walked over with ambiguous smiles. Qing Luo, look at your sleepy face, don't tell me. You didn't sleep at all last night? Where's the Overlord? Why don't I see him accompanying you? Don't tell me. The Overlord has been squeezed dry by Qing Luo and is still resting in the room? Each teasing was more ridiculous than the other. Yi Qing Luo's face turned slightly red at the start and towards the end, her face turned gloomy as she clenched her fist and threw a punch towards Xiao Jin who was nearest to her. You're trying to silence me. Xiao Jin covered his face and jumped back a few steps. The 11 of them joked around, causing the air flow in the silent and oppressive training ground to ease a little. The students of the Class of Gods were getting more and more suspicious. This group of students from the devil class actually dared to make fun of the overlord. It could be seen that the students of the devil class usually had a very good relationship with the overlord. That was to say, Dmo Xian and Yiqing Luo had long been a couple. The ghost doctor, old man Guiyu, and now Dizun. Who in the class of gods would dare to find trouble with the class of devils? That person's brain must be stuffed with grass to be able to do such a thing. Cough, cough, cough. The fat master cleared his throat. The devil class students immediately stopped joking around and quickly returned to the middle of the training ground, standing in line. The students from the class of gods silently shifted to the side, afraid that they would accidentally bump into the class of devils and become the next cannon fodder. 3 masters stood in front of the students of the 2 classes. His gaze was extremely dignified as he swept a glance across the crowd. His deep voice was steady. Bai Mei's behavior is improper, and vulgar, leading the students wrongly. The class of gods represents the heavenly academy to remove Bai Mei's position as a master, and this matter will be recorded in the main academy's archives. Chapter 2279. Last night, after Dmo Xian left with Yiqing Luo, the 3 teachers also took the opportunity to disperse the students in the field. But Dmo Xian had no intention to let Bai Mei off. That big net that trapped Bai Mei had been supported by profound qi for a day and a night. Until just now, there was still an hour before the time of the 5th hour. Bai Mei was carried out by them. Bai Mei's injuries were not serious, just some superficial wounds. However, he remained in the same position for several hours without being able to move. The muscles all over Bai Mei's body were stiff. She fell into a coma after being dragged down. Although Bai Mei had already been punished physically. But everything that Bai Mei had done yesterday. Indeed, it was against the morals of a master. Removing Bai Mei from the position was not only for the sake of the overlord, but also Bai Mei had to accept the punishment. It could be said that once there was such a record in the main courtyard. No one dared to invite Bai Mei to be a teacher in any school. This was equivalent to banning. While Fatty Master was explaining Bai Mei's punishment, he was paying attention to Yiqing Luo's expression. Only to discover that after he finished explaining Bai Mei's punishment, Yiqing Luo's expression did not change at all. Not even the slightest bit of joy. Fatty Master paused for a moment. Could it be? Yiqing Luo was very dissatisfied with this punishment. Cough. Master Yi coughed lightly and walked out. And Yen Yu, I have sent her to the faculty council and detained her there for further investigation. Yiqing Luo was still expressionless. Fatty Master and Master Yi looked at each other. They expressed, they really couldn't take a student with such a strong backing. Although they said they didn't care. But in their hearts, they still respected the overlord so much that they couldn't treat the devil class and Yiqing Luo as a normal student. What Yiqing Luo means is, don't talk so much nonsense, start training quickly. Shunqing resumed his usual laziness. He lifted his eyelids lazily and glanced at Yiqing Luo. The 2 masters smiled awkwardly. Then, the special training began. During the warm-up, Yiqing Luo's eyes searched among the students in the class of gods. Not only to find the friend that Dmo Xian mentioned. He also wanted to take a look, was the Upper Xian Hall master's words true or not? There was another shortcut to the upper realm. The class of gods would know, who was it? But after looking around, Yiqing Luo didn't see any suspects. The special training began. According to the devil class's request, the fat teacher adjusted the amount of exercise for their special training based on their performance in the weight-bearing cross-country race the day before. Indeed, it could be considered as strengthening their special training. As for the students of the class of gods, they naturally had to undergo the same level of special training as the students of the class of devils. The three masters looked at the students of the two classes who had already begun their special training. Teacher E lowered his head and looked at the information in his hands. His face was full of amazement. Looks like we really need to pay more attention to things outside of the class of gods. This student Yi Qing Luo is really an extraordinary talent. If it wasn't for her own uniqueness, the Overlord wouldn't have fallen in love with her at first sight. Shen Qing hung lazily on Fatty Master's body, smiling as he looked at the direction where Yi Qing Luo had left. The information of the devil class doesn't match up. Fatty Master glanced at the information in his hands. They had specially gotten it from the faculty council last night. They had also specially inquired about the rumor that the devil class was once known as the waste class. Star. Chapter 2280. These students were indeed not particularly gifted students. On the contrary, before they entered the Heavenly Academy, their innate talents were ordinary and they were bullied in their own families. To be admitted into the Heavenly Academy, it was all because of their willpower that refused to give up, forcing themselves to pass the entrance examinations, one stage after another. But the current Heavenly Academy's director was a man who sought glory. These students, although they had passed the entrance examinations, but their innate talents were too poor. So he set up a devil class, specially for this group of students without any innate talents. He sent out some teachers who were eliminated to pretend to teach in the devil class. But, every time, those teachers who went to teach in the devil class would be thrown out in various ways. The director originally didn't want to bother about this devil class. Since the devil class didn't know what was good for them, the director simply treated the devil class as if it didn't exist, leaving them to fend for themselves. Gradually, the name of the devil class. Only when the teachers wanted to punish those disobedient students, would they threaten to send them to the devil class. At this time, the devil class's name would appear. But when did the students in the devil class change so much? From the information displayed, the changes in the devil class started after Yi Qing Luo entered the devil class. Many people were talking about it. Yi Qing Luo was able to turn from a useless body to a profound expert. The Overlord must have helped her from the back. And when Yi Qing Luo entered the devil class, the students in the devil class also changed from a useless body to cultivators who could take charge of their own affairs. It must be the Overlord who helped those students on account of Yi Qing Luo's face. But, the three teachers who came from the upper realm didn't think so. They were very clear. A person's change was absolutely not something that could be changed overnight. Like Yi Qing Luo's aura and her boldness. At least she needed to be nurtured and trained since young. At least she had experienced countless bloodshed. Only then could she have such a shocking aura. Moreover, the group of students in the devil class was absolutely not as simple as what they saw on the surface. They absolutely did not change after Yi Qing Luo entered the devil class. It was only Yi Qing Luo's arrival that made them more united. That girl called Yan Xiaoyi. In the files of devil class, there isn't any information on her. Teacher E flipped through the book in his hand and pointed to the other side. And, that little thing called Kitty Li, but, according to the faculty council's understanding, Yan Xiaoyi has already been in devil class for at least 3 years. Shen Qing took a look at Yan Xiaoyi. The students of the Heavenly Academy all have a wooden token that belongs to them. The wooden tablet will clearly record the changes in each student's profound rank. The other two headmasters were slightly stunned. He was right. With the Academy's wooden token, how could the Academy not have noticed the changes in the devil class? Moreover, if the faculty council didn't have Yan Xiaoyi's file, how did Yan Xiaoyi manage to stay in the devil class for 3 years? As for that little thing called Li Mao, others might not be able to tell, but the 3 teachers definitely could. Looking at Kitty Li's clingy attitude towards Yi Qing Luo, she could roughly guess that Kitty Li should be Yi Qing Luo's contracted beast. Chapter 2281. After the investigation, they were only left with disbelief and shock. This devil class was really full of crouching tigers and hidden dragons, with unlimited potential. Old man Guiyu Yu had specially emphasized that Yi Qing Luo had the chance to enter the class of gods, but she had given it up. This sentence was absolutely true. Not only Yi Qing Luo alone. From their point of view, these 10 students in devil class were all qualified to enter the class of gods to undergo the best special training. But the masters were very clear about this. Even if they really brought up this point, these 11 people would absolutely not agree to it. No one could destroy the atmosphere of unity, mutual support and mutual help between them. They had always felt that the students in the class of gods stood out one by one, no matter if it was in battle or defense, their ability would always be invincible and invincible. But they always felt that the students in the class of gods were lacking a something. Now, they finally understood. What they lacked in the class of gods was the affection between people, the trust between people. That kind of unity, the spirit of reliance. After a day of special training, the students of the 2 classes were exhausted after the increased intensity of the training. By the time they returned to the training ground, the students were already lying on the ground, unwilling to get up. Only the students of devil class still maintained their formation from start to end. They received a towel and a water bag from the master. They wiped the sweat off their faces. Fatigue was evident on their faces, but compared to the state of the class of gods, they were obviously better. The students in the class of gods were all shocked. If it was said that the students in devil class had completed the weight-bearing cross-country yesterday, they didn't witness it with their own eyes. Even with the master's testimony, they didn't really believe it. But today, they had been training together with the students in devil class throughout. No matter what kind of training it was a group action. They had also deeply witnessed the gap between themselves and the students in devil class. One by one, their arrogant hearts that were about to soar into the sky, were all abused by the students of the devil class until they fell straight down with a walala sound. At this moment, the students in the class of gods were not only conquered by the backing of devil class. They were also conquered by their performance in the special training. After the students rested for a moment, the fat master's deep voice resounded throughout the training ground. Today's special training ends here. Gather here tomorrow at 5 in the morning. The students immediately responded in a loud voice. Yi Qing Luo wiped the sweat off her forehead and looked at the receding figures of the class before she slowly walked towards the 3 masters. Masters, I have a question that I would like to ask you. What is it, student Yi Qing Luo, please speak. Yi Qing Luo pondered for a moment. Class of gods and the Heavenly Academy's Heavenly Profound Hall, is there any special relationship? Upper Xian Hall? Teacher Yi stroked his white beard. The Shangshuan Palace has not been concerned about the development of the Heavenly Academy for many years, and the few of us have not specially looked for the Palace Lord. Yi Qing Luo pursed her pink lips. Put it this way. The 3 of them were not the only ones who knew where the sacred beast pearl was. Bai Mei had always been in the god class and had never left it. This point could be seen from the fact that Bai Mei didn't know that she and Dmo Xian had already had numerous legs. If Bai Mei had left the class, the gossipy crowd had been gossiping about what had happened between her and Lin Mengya. Chapter 2282. Student Yi Qing Luo is also acquainted with the Lord of Heavenly Palace. Shen Qing leaned on Fatty's shoulder and asked curiously. What was this lass's background? Why did it seem that all her acquaintances were so amazing? Yi Qing Luo shook her head. Just met once. The day before yesterday, I was summoned by the Lord of Heavenly Palace to inquire about the current situation of the Heavenly Academy. To inquire about the current situation of the Heavenly Academy, would he specially look for a student who had just returned? When they were investigating Yi Qing Luo, naturally they had heard from the students of the Heavenly Academy about the day when Yi Qing Luo had just returned. The protector of Heavenly Palace had specially appeared at the Heavenly Academy early in the morning, specially waiting for Yi Qing Luo. Simply to inquire about the Heavenly Academy? The three masters expressed their disbelief. But since Yi Qing Luo didn't say anything, they naturally wouldn't probe further. Yi Qing Luo raised her eyes and looked at the three masters, asking seriously, "Are there any other masters in the class of gods?" Fatty was stunned and shook his head. "Other than the three of us, and Bai Mei who had been removed from the position of master, there are no other masters in the class of gods." Yi Qing Luo frowned slightly. It seemed that the person in the class of gods that the Lord of Heavenly Palace mentioned was not a master of the class of gods, but other than the masters of the class of gods. Who else would know the precise location of the sacred beast pearl and how to use it? Suddenly, Yi Qing Luo's mind quivered. No. At that time, the Lord of Heavenly Palace said that what she wanted to know, the students in the class of gods knew best. What he said was the word student. Student. Before Dmo Xian left, he also said that he had a friend who was a student in the class of gods. After that, he said something that she was still in a daze. It seemed to be related to this matter. Yi Qing Luo's eyes suddenly lit up and grabbed Teacher Yi's sleeve. "Master, may I ask? Among the students in the class of gods, is there anyone who is familiar with Xian?" The expressions of the three masters changed slightly. "You want to ask about Sister Bai Mei?" Listening to Yi Qing Luo calling the overlord Xian intimately, they also knew that the relationship between Yi Qing Luo and the overlord was far deeper than what they saw. Yi Qing Luo asked about this. She must have been irritated by Bai Mei's words last night. "We've been in the god class for so long, but to be honest, we've only seen Di Zun twice." Shen Qing chuckled. "Although the overlord's return is indeed related to Bai Mei's sister, you can rest assured that Bai Mei's sister is not a good match for the overlord." Yi Qing Luo's mouth twitched. Did she look like someone who would get jealous and cause trouble for no reason? She was clearly asking about the students. Why did the teachers think of Bai Mei's sister? To be honest, she had never considered Bai Mei's elder sister as a rival in love. "I'm not asking about Bai Mei's sister, I mean, the students from the class of gods." Yi Qing Luo tried to explain. But Fatty Master had already used his fat palm to pat her shoulder heavily. "Student Yi Qing Luo, you can rest assured. The overlord has been to the class of gods twice, including this time. Last time and this time, he only met Bai Mei once, but you've seen his attitude towards Bai Mei, so." Yi Qing Luo was speechless. She really wasn't jealous. Nor did she take advantage of Dmo Xian's absence. She wanted to investigate Dmo Xian's past. Chapter 2283. Student Yi Qing Luo, if it's possible, we would like to bring you to Bai Mei's sister and ask her personally. Fatty Master sighed, but we are unable to climb up that mountain. Even Bai Mei can't. Yi Qing Luo facebombed, expressing that she didn't want to ask any further. This group of masters were sure that she was jealous. She couldn't explain it clearly. What was there to say? Yi Qing Luo expressed that she was very angry, but she still had to maintain her smile and said to the masters, "Masters, I have other matters to attend to, so I'll return to Devil class first." She turned around and dragged the Devil class students away. The Devil class students expressed their stupefaction and had yet to react. When the students had left the training ground, only the three masters were left. The expressions on their faces gradually became extremely grave. Master Yi looked at the direction where Yiqing Luo left and sighed. Do you think she will believe us? No matter if she believes or not, just don't ask us. Shen Qing yawned lazily. Anyway, the person whom Yiqing Luo is looking for will take the initiative to look for her, so we don't have to worry about this. Fatty Master nodded. Let's go, everything has been arranged, let's go back to our room to rest. Some of the Devil class students returned to the class to clean themselves up and return to the actual combat training forest. In case they couldn't report to the training ground tomorrow at 5 in the morning. As for Yiqing Luo, after changing her clothes, she headed towards the direction of the Ancestral Hall. Calculating the time, the director would be coming out from the Ancestral Hall tomorrow. These 2 days, she hadn't had the time to settle the director's matter. She had no intention to let the director continue to stay in this position. Yiqing Luo was agile, her figure as fast as lightning. In just a moment, she had already arrived near the Ancestral Hall. It was late at night and the Ancestral Hall was a restricted area. At this hour, there wasn't any light in the surroundings. Yiqing Luo seemed to be able to see things in the dark, as she approached the Ancestral Hall accurately. The surroundings of the Ancestral Hall was surrounded by an enchantment. Perhaps Yiqing Luo had entered the Lord's room previously. These enchantments did not stop Yiqing Luo from entering. The last time in the small room where the director was facing the wall, she eavesdropped on the conversation between the director and Yunxiang. She discovered this point. Just as he approached the hut, he heard the sound of people talking in a low voice. Yiqing Luo's lips curled up slightly. They came at the right time. 3 joss sticks were lit in the small room of the Dean's Ancestral Hall. Yiqing Luo leaned close to the window and through the flickering candlelight, she could see the 2 people inside. The headmaster sat on a praying mat, looking extremely dispirited. His hair, which had always been neat and tidy, was now in a mess, like a chicken nest. His usual clean and tidy robe hung loosely on his body. His face was filled with exhaustion. The candlelight was very close. Yiqing Luo could even clearly see the director's reddened eyes and the bruise at the corner of his eyes. It was obvious that he had been in the Ancestral Hall for almost 3 days. The dean didn't even close his eyes. Furthermore, his mental state was also very poor. It was as if he had suffered some kind of mental torture. Yiqing Luo's lips twitched in ridicule. In this eerie, terrifying, and lifeless Ancestral Hall, the dean had done so much that he had let down the Heavenly Academy and countless students. In this Ancestral Hall filled with the memorial tablets of the former dean, how was it possible for him to sleep peacefully? From the looks of it, the guilty things that the dean had done. Chapter 2284. Director, President C, seems to have met with some trouble. Yunxiang said in a low voice. President C? Was he talking about Si Yanmu? They were just talking about getting Si Yanmu to help him secure the position of director? Yiqing Luo didn't have time to think about it. The director had already opened his mouth, his voice was hoarse and full of hostility. He is the president of Faculty Council, high and mighty, even the elders have to give him face. What trouble could he possibly meet with? This tone, listening to it. Obviously there was some unhappiness with Si Yanmu. However, Yiqing Luo could roughly guess. Si Yanmu had a close relationship with a certain holy technique from the dark forces. It could be said that Si Yanmu's existence was. After the director's operation failed, he immediately took control of the Heavenly Academy. Now the dark forces were forced to return to the dark side. Moreover, most of the forces had been annihilated. The remaining were just some shrimp soldiers and crab generals. The director still wanted to make use of Si Yanmu and the dark forces to secure his position. How could the dark forces possibly waste their efforts on the director? Why would they take the risk of being discovered to help the director? Yunxiang went to Si Yanmu to talk about this. It would only make the dark forces choose to give up on the director. As for the candidate for the next director, the dark forces would definitely let Si Yenmu take over. So, Si Yenmu naturally didn't care much about Yun Xiang's words. These few days, didn't that little slut Yi Qing Luo bring the devil class students to the class of gods for special training? It seems like on the first day of the special training, something big happened and even the faculty council was alerted. Yun Xiang told the director about the news he had heard. Didn't Zi Qianqian have a cousin who is also a student in the class of gods? Under President Xi's intentional or unintentional retelling, that student knew that Yi Qing Luo was the murderer who killed Zi Qianqian, so. In the class of gods, she and Yi Qing Luo were not on good terms. But you also know that Yi Qing Luo, that slut, has too many backers. How could a student in the class of gods win against her? So she was personally brought to the faculty council by the master of the class of gods, saying that after you come out from your confinement, they will investigate this matter. The director's eyes suddenly froze. That student from the class of gods, does he hate Yi Qing Luo to the core? Of course. When I was discussing this matter with President Xi, I heard that student insulting Yi Qing Luo non-stop, as though he couldn't wait to cut Yi Qing Luo into 1,000 pieces. Yun Xiang nodded continuously. All right. Good job. Tomorrow, the dean will be able to leave this damned place. At that time, a cold light flashed in the dean's eyes. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. This student from the class of gods could be put to good use. But Dean. Suddenly, Yun Xiang squatted down. His old face, under the candlelight, was somewhat strange. The dean frowned. He had a bad feeling about this. Yun Xiang laughed softly. Dean, if you want to leave this damned place, you have to be alive to do so. As soon as he finished speaking, Yun Xiang's palm suddenly flipped and slammed down on the dean's chest. From the moment Yun Xiang squatted down, the dean had already felt that something was strange. When Yun Xiang attacked him, he reacted quickly and rolled on the ground. That palm brushed past his shoulder. A burst of intense pain, as though his shoulder was torn apart. Chapter 2285. You. How dare you betray me? The dean's eyes were scarlet red and his face was sinister. Yun Xiang saw that he had failed and simply couldn't be bothered to continue pretending. He sneered and stood up. Dean? Heh. I'm afraid you don't know that from tomorrow onwards, I will be the dean. You. The dean was so angry that his whole body was trembling and the wound on his shoulder was hurting badly. Si Yenmu, that bastard. He burned the bridge after crossing the river. How can this be considered as burning the bridge after crossing the river? It's just that you have lost your value. Yun Xiang sneered sarcastically. After he finished, he took a step forward and walked towards the dean. Dean, just accept your death obediently, stop struggling. The more you struggle, it will only make yourself more painful. Bastard. The dean's face turned red as he retreated a few steps. Every movement. The wound on his shoulder became more and more tearing and the pain was unbearable. It could be seen that Yun Xiang's palm strike just now was completely determined to take his life. Yun Xiang laughed sinisterly, looking at the usually aloof and arrogant dean in front of him. Such a sorry figure, filled with fear. In his heart, he couldn't be more pleased. From tomorrow onwards, everything that the dean had, would belong to him. In future, he would be the dean of the Heavenly Academy. He was going to kill this dean. Yun Xiang waved his palm again and the force was extremely sharp. The dean was sweating profusely from the pain and kept sucking in cold air. He turned sideways and somersaulted backwards to avoid that palm strike. A loud bang sound was heard. The memorial tablets were overturned by the palm strike. The candlelight also fell to the ground. The small house was suddenly pitch black. Faintly, there were only 2 small lamps hanging on the walls around the house, emitting a faint light. Their silhouettes flickered in and out of existence. That loud sound was extremely loud in the silent night sky. Yun Xiang's face sunk, worried that it would attract the patrolling guards. He immediately clapped his hands. Instantly, 4 people in black robes sprang out from the ground. Before the dean could react, those 4 people attacked towards the dean. Profound Yin Qi. Yiqing Luo, who was nestled outside the window, her eyes widened as she witnessed this scene. Under the night sky, her charming eyes were like colored glass, extremely bright and resplendent. However, the few people in the chaotic battle did not notice this pair of bright eyes. Sure enough, they were from the dark forces. The remnants of the dark forces actually dared to appear in the Heavenly Academy. Those holy techniques, Pharaoh and whatnot, were they planning to nurture the Heavenly Academy into their second force? To tell the truth, Yiqing Luo wasn't surprised that Yun Xiang would betray the director. Yun Xiang was a petty person. His ambition was huge. He couldn't stand the unfair treatment. Once someone stepped on him, Yun Xiang would have the thought of stepping back. Therefore, it was very normal for Yun Xiang to betray the dean. However, did Yun Xiang really think that Si Yanmu would help him to become the principal? Yun Xiang had lived for most of his life, yet he was still so naive. She willingly became a young man's chess piece. If Yun Xiang knew, would he vomit blood in anger? Through the window, he looked at the 4 remnants of the dark forces fighting and Yun Xiang's dean. The dean was forced to retreat step by step, and his body was covered with wounds. He did not even have the strength to resist. Yiqing Luo's finger touched her pink lips. Looking at the dean lying on the ground, Yun Xiang's palm strike was heading towards the dean's head. Chapter 2286. A ray of profound qi blocked the dean's face and forced Yun Xiang's attack back. Yun Xiang staggered slightly and was shocked. Who is it? The 4 surviving members of the dark forces quickly got into a defensive formation. They released their senses and looked around. The ancestral hall was silent. The dean was panting heavily. His back was drenched in cold sweat. Luckily he was all right. He was not dead. The dean got up from the ground and wanted to escape. Yun Xiang was sharp and lifted his leg to kick the dean's back. The dean was covered in wounds, how could he have the strength to resist? A heavy force came from behind. The dean's body flew out and fell face first onto the ground. You guys killed him. I'll go and see who is playing tricks. Yun Xiang's face was ashen. This was the most critical moment and he would not allow any accidents to happen. He wanted to kill the dean. Then, he would wait for the position of the dean to fall on his head. The remaining dark forces nodded their heads vigorously. They raised the weapons in their hands and slashed down at the dean who was lying on the ground and unable to move. Swish swish swish. Another few rays of profound qi, like hidden weapons, knocked down the weapons of the remaining dark forces. Who is it? Get out here. Seeing that the principal was stopped from killing him time and time again, Yun Xiang nearly went mad from anger. He gritted his teeth and roared furiously. Then, he quickly attacked in the direction where the profound qi had come from. But, there was no one at the place where the palm wind searched. Kakik, the enchanting and clear laughter was extremely strange in this gloomy and terrifying atmosphere. Where are you hitting? The teasing laughter continued. Yun Xiang widened his eyes and looked towards the direction of the voice. He saw a petite figure standing in front of the dean. That figure was covered with a large black robe and he could not tell who it was. But he could tell that it was a woman. The woman's voice was also extremely unfamiliar. Yun Xiang was sure. The woman in front of him was very unfamiliar. Who are you? Yun Xiang frowned and snarled, how dare you meddle in the affairs of the Heavenly Academy, are you tired of living? An elder from the elders' quarters murdered the dean of the Heavenly Academy. If this matter gets out, elder, I'm afraid you won't be able to live. The woman sneered as the corner of her mouth twitched. Yun Xiang's eyes were filled with killing intent. You want to threaten me? Very good. Since you came to seek death, this elder will kill you along with him. No matter who this woman was. As long as they were against him, he would kill them all. The woman's face was covered by the black robe, so it was impossible to see her face clearly. It was as if he had blended into the night. Yun Xiang could not see the woman's expression. However, he could clearly feel the woman's ridicule towards him. It seemed to be mocking him for overestimating himself. This woman, she was as disgusting as that slut Yi Qing Luo. Yun Xiang's eyes turned cold as he attacked towards Yi Qing Luo's direction. The 4 survivors, whose weapons had been knocked off their hands, quickly surrounded them and attacked. However, the woman had no intention to continue fighting with them. She bent over and as though she was carrying a piece of rubbish, she grabbed the dean's collar. Following that, the black robe fluttered. She had already disappeared into the small house. That speed was so fast that no one could detect it. Yun Xiang's heart trembled. Chase. Hurry up and chase. We absolutely cannot let them escape. If the dean wasn't dead, his murder charge, not only would he be chased out of the Heavenly Academy. Chapter 2287. No way. He could not let the dean leave the ancestral hall alive. Yun Xiang's eyes were filled with a crazy storm. He took out a black ball-like object from his bosom. This was given to him by Si Yenmu. He was worried that he would encounter some obstacles and cause the plan to fail, so he gave him this as a backup life-saving item. Initially, he wanted to use this thing to kill those people in the elder quarters after he became the dean. But now, he could only use it first. When he became the dean, he could kill whoever he wanted to. Yun Xiang threw the ball-like object to the ground and smashed it hard. With a bang, the ball-like object exploded. The black smoke swallowed up everything in the ancestral hall. The black smoke slowly, condensed into the shape of a person. Yun Xiang was dumbfounded and took a few steps back. However, the black smoke seemed to have solidified and stopped him in his tracks. The black humanoid figures were like walking corpses. Step by step, they walked towards Yun Xiang. Yun Xiang screamed out in fear. He turned around and wanted to escape. But those black fog-like things walked in front of Yun Xiang, one by one. They all bent down and bowed to Yun Xiang. Yun Xiang was stunned. After a long while, he seemed to be sure that those black fogs were not aggressive towards him. Yun Xiang then came back to his senses, squinted his eyes carefully and looked at these monsters. He thought for a while in his mind and said tentatively, "You guys, quickly catch the dean and that woman just now, don't let them escape." The black fog monsters raised their heads. They had no facial features, only a black fog face, facing Yun Xiang. Yun Xiang felt his heart trembling. Suddenly, he saw those black fog monsters passed him and chased in the direction where the dean was taken. That speed was like a gibbon, totally not as clumsy as when they walked towards Yun Xiang. At least 40 black fog monsters were born. Only then did the surrounding black fog gradually dissipate. In just a moment, there was only Yun Xiang left in the entire ancestral hall. Yun Xiang stood there in a daze. He looked at the direction where the black fog monsters left in a daze. Gradually, he opened his mouth and laughed out loud. This thing, it was too heaven-defying. Si Yenmu actually had such a powerful thing. The dean would definitely die. That woman would definitely die as well. The woman was Yi Qing Luo, who was covered in a loose black robe, dragging the director as she speedily left the ancestral hall. Her actions were extremely rough. The dean was almost out of breath. He kept hitting her wrists, trying to make her loosen up a little. Unfortunately, under the attacks of Yunxiang and the four dark forces, the dean's body was already completely drained of strength. After a few tugs, the dean lost all his strength and slumped to the ground. The Heavenly Academy has its own enchantment device, and once they leave the enchantment of the Ancestral Hall, they would be detected by the Heavenly Academy the moment they use their profound qi. After Yiqing Luo left the Ancestral Hall, she retracted all her profound energy and directly displayed her footwork, turning left and right. There was no place to hide in the Heavenly Academy. Carrying a burden who had lost half his life. If he was caught by those few remaining evildoers, it would be very easy to alert the other people in the academy. Thinking about it, Yiqing Luo decisively dragged the director and dashed towards the direction of the Heavenly Training Forest. Chapter 2288. The dean panted heavily as he laid on the ground, unable to even move his fingers. Yiqing Luo frowned as she looked down at him. If you want to die in the hands of Yunxiang, then I will leave now. Just treat it as a waste of time to save a waste. Finishing her words, Yiqing Luo turned around to leave. Miss. The dean couldn't bear to let Yiqing Luo leave. Now, Yiqing Luo was his only savior. If Yiqing Luo left and the people from Yunxiang caught up, he would definitely die. Miss, I don't have the strength. No strength to open the entrance. I will tell you the method. In order to survive, the dean could only betray the academy's secret. He didn't care who this lady was. What was the purpose of saving him? He only wanted to survive. Yiqing Luo slowly bent down. The dean told her the incantation to open the entrance. Yiqing Luo followed the incantation and quickly opened the entrance to the Heavenly Training Forest. Just as she was about to pull the dean in, Yiqing Luo's expression suddenly turned cold. She sensed that countless strange forces were approaching rapidly. Furthermore, that power was extremely powerful. Were they from Yunxiang? Or were the dark forces reinforcements here? Without much time to think, Yiqing Luo immediately carried the dean and jumped into the entrance. The Heavenly Training Forest was usually in a forbidden state. The enchantment here had divided this place and the academy into two zones. Casting profound energy here would not be detected by the Heavenly Academy's enchantment equipment. Seeing the entrance of the Heavenly Training Forest was completely sealed. Yiqing Luo then threw the dean under a tree. She bowed her head, and under the black robe, only a pair of sharp eyes were revealed as she locked onto the dean. Do you want revenge? For the time being, she had no intention to let the dean die so easily. This dean position, Yiqing Luo had no intention to let the dean hand over now. Si Yenmu's plan could not succeed. The dean's facial features were twisted. Yes. If it's revenge, I can help you, but you have to promise me one thing. Yiqing Luo's lips curled up as her brows were filled with a cold intent. The dean remained silent for a moment and clenched his fist. What do you want me to do? Your academy's faculty council president has a small grudge with me. I know, that elder Yunxiang betrayed you because the faculty council president promised him to become the next principal. Yiqing Luo half squatted down and fished out a crystal clear pill. As for me, I just don't want faculty council president to get what he wants, so I saved you. The dean clenched his fists and his eyes were filled with hatred. Si Yenmu. I will definitely deal with him. I was the one who gave him the position of president. If he wants to take it back now, it will be a piece of cake. Heh, the dignified dean of the Heavenly Academy is so simple. Yiqing Luo sneered. Now, even you don't understand the Heavenly Academy as well as Si Yenmu. After so many years, his foundation in the Heavenly Academy has long been solid. If I am not wrong, Si Yenmu's goal is to become the next dean. You and Yunxiang are just pawns. The dean's expression abruptly changed. The medicine that Yiqing Luo had fed to him started to take effect. The dean suddenly sat up from the ground and punched the ground. How dare he? Yiqing Luo snorted disdainfully. This dean was really too naive. To the dean, she was now a stranger. She merely saved him. Did he really treat her as his savior? Did he believe her words without a doubt? But Chapter 2289. The dean's eyes were gloomy as he clenched his fists tightly, his veins popped out. What deal do you want to make with me? Yiqing Luo's lips curled up, her eyes under the black robe were like a frozen sharp blade. Based on your current reputation in the school, I'm afraid you are no match for Si Yenmu. If you go back openly, Si Yenmu may bite back. The dean's face sunk. This was indeed the case. He was very clear about Si Yenmu's status in the school. If Si Yenmu were to bite back, even if he could escape today, he would not be able to escape tomorrow. What good ideas do you have? The dean could only pin his hopes on the lady who saved his life. Yiqing Luo smiled mysteriously. You and Si Yenmu have been working together for so many years, you should have something on him. The dean's throat tightened. How did you? His relationship with Si Yenmu. Not many people knew about it. Why would this strange lady know about this? You don't need to care about how I know, what else I know, and how much I know. In short, Si Yenmu is our common goal. Yiqing Luo replied calmly, now that Yunxiang has already collaborated with the dark forces, if the both of them were to insist that you're from the dark forces, then by then you won't be able to defend yourself. Are you certain that you still have the mood to guess my identity? The dean clenched his fists tightly. After a long while, he took a deep breath, raised his head and stared at her maliciously. Good. I will not ask about your identity. As long as I can sit on the dean's position and let Si Yenmu and Yunxiang step down, I will not hesitate to cooperate with the devil. Devil? Yiqing Luo laughed in a low voice. In her laughter, there was a trace of indolent and seductive smile. This title suits me quite well, then. You can call me devil. The dean's fists creaked. I have Si Yenmu's weakness in my hands, and the evidence that he is from the dark forces. Do you want me to make this evidence public? No. Yiqing Luo smiled faintly. If you make it public, what if Si Yenmu also comes up with the same evidence and bite back at you? He has the support of the dark forces, he can distort the truth at any time and point the spearhead to you. The president's face turned pale. What should I do? Since we have Si Yenmu's weakness and evidence, we need to make use of these things to their fullest potential. Yiqing Luo slowly got closer to the director as her voice was suppressed, filled with bewitchment. Yunxiang making a move on you today is an opportunity to counterattack. Hearing Yiqing Luo's words, the director's expression slowly turned gloomy as a dense murderous intent kept surging in his eyes. Just as Yiqing Luo finished her last sentence. At the entrance of the heavenly training forest, an extremely loud collision sound was suddenly heard. Yiqing Luo's expression changed. They're catching up. Just a moment ago, the dean was still brimming with murderous intent. But now, he immediately leaned against the tree trunk and slumped down. How could this be? Here, how did they find out? There's the presence of profound yin qi. Yiqing Luo frowned as her gaze locked onto the wound on the director's shoulder. She suddenly raised her hand and placed her palm on the dean's wound. The dean screamed in pain, his face pale. You, don't think too much. If I wanted to take your life, you would have died a long time ago. Yiqing Luo half squatted down. Chapter 2290. It's indeed the profound yin qi. That fresh blood which stained the handkerchief oozed out strands of black qi, like black smoke. When director saw the wisp of smoke on Yiqing Luo's handkerchief, his face revealed a terrified expression. My body, is tainted with the profound yin qi? Am I going to be devoured? Don't worry, you won't die now. Yiqing Luo threw the handkerchief onto the ground. Yun Xiang had just collaborated with the dark forces and isn't familiar with the manipulation of the profound yin qi, so he only left some profound yin qi on your wound. Director clenched his teeth as he supported himself against the tree to stand up. Let's go now. There are many enchantments in the heavenly training forest, let's hide first. No matter how many enchantments there are, if the profound yin qi on your wound has not been dealt with, they will still be able to chase up to us. Yiqing Luo shot a glance at him indifferently. Director panicked. Then what should we do? Kill the remnants of the dark forces. Yiqing Luo's voice was extremely calm. Kill? You? Can you do it? Director looked at Yiqing Luo in astonishment. Although this lady looked like an expert, but she was after all a petite lady, could she deal with the dark forces? Yiqing Luo's ears moved slightly, sensing that the entrance to the forest had been destroyed. The expression on her face turned grave. Go and wait at one side. Director propped himself up and wobbled into the bushes at the side. Coincidentally, one after another black fog-like humanoid monsters had already rushed into the heavenly training forest. Yo, is this a new breed from the dark forces? Yiqing Luo's brows rose as she sized up those monsters with interest. Behind the monsters, a white-robed Yun Xiang with a complacent face walked out. Little slut, who asked you to be a busybody? This elder will send you to meet King Yama now. He waved his arm as he gave a sinister smile. Go. The black fog monsters, one after another, pounced towards Yiqing Luo. Those black fog monsters looked like they didn't have any facial features or thoughts, just like a lump of fog, gathering together to form a humanoid monster. But their attacks totally didn't show any signs of sluggishness. One after another, the black fog monsters launched their attacks in an orderly manner. The powerful mysterious yin qi enveloped the entire forest. The mysterious yin qi came in a torrential manner, spreading out circles after circles of mysterious waves in the air. Yiqing Luo stood in the middle of the profound waves' encirclement as her red lips under the black robe curled upwards. With a flip of her hand, a greenish-white longsword appeared in her palm. She could not reveal her identity. The glowing flame fan was a symbolic weapon. Once it was taken out, Yun Xiang and the Dean would immediately recognize it. Therefore, she took out a long sword from the profound phoenix ring. This sword was also very convenient to hold and it was extremely light. She released her profound energy and the long sword in her hand was like a snow-white wave as it surged and collided with the circles of profound ripples. The earth shook, and a thunderous sound rang in his ears. Bang, bang, bang. The mysterious yin qi that was floating in the air was dispersed by the force of the sword. But Yiqing Luo didn't stop there. She raised her sword and leaped into the air. In just a few breaths, she had already dashed into the black fog monsters. The long sword in her hand turned into a lustrous white sword ray, as it covered the sky and earth as it waved in all directions. Those black fog monsters were enveloped by that sword ray in a split second. Chapter 2291. Yun Xiang was so scared that he took a few steps back. His body was stuck to the stone wall, and his legs were weak. How is this possible? Weren't these monsters the strongest? How could it be so easily chopped into pieces by that bitch? Why was that slut sword technique so unfamiliar? However, in the next instant, Yun Xiang's terrified and shocked expression was gradually replaced by joy and complacency. The monster that was originally broken into pieces. After Yiqing Luo brandished her sword, they started to converge again bit by bit. Once again, it formed a humanoid monster. Yiqing Luo wasn't surprised as she withdrew her sword stance and retreated to a big tree. Sure enough. When she swung her sword at the black fog monsters just now, she felt that something was wrong. It was as though he had sliced through the air. There wasn't the slightest feeling of a solid object. Now, these monsters had regrouped. She was also sure of her guess. These monsters were the same as the flame beasts in the flame lair. They were all made of dark energy. These monsters were combat monsters refined from the dark forces profound Een aura and the dark forces forbidden spells and secret arts. They were a mass of mysterious Een chi. There was no substance. No matter how they beat him, no matter how they crushed his body and bones, the mysterious Een chi could reorganize itself. It was indeed a disgusting thing. Yiqing Luo's eyes sunk. These things. She obviously knew that she couldn't kill them, but she still forced herself to tear them apart, which would only deplete her profound energy. But, if he didn't retaliate, these monsters could inflict real damage on her. Only the dark forces would use such disgusting things to disgust people. Yun Xiang looked at the black fog monsters and laughed wildly. Ha ha ha. Little slut. Do you think you can do anything to them? Let this elder tell you, they are all this elder's protectors. You, die. This monster was too powerful. An unkillable monster with such a powerful battle prowess. As long as these black fog monsters existed. Even if he wanted to suppress the Three Springs sect and rule the West Continent, or even the entire Nirvana realm, it wouldn't be a problem. Yun Xiang bared his fangs and brandished his claws at Yiqing Luo, clamoring for the monsters to tear Yiqing Luo into pieces. The monsters got their orders and all of them moved agilely as they speedily stretched out their 5 fingers towards Yiqing Luo. As they attacked again. Little by little, the black mist encircled their outstretched hands and transformed into weapons. The mist was pitch black and did not look sharp at all. But Yiqing Luo could clearly feel it. The weapons that were chopping down were surrounded by mysterious Een chi. If he was touched, the mysterious Een chi would definitely corrode her. How was he going to deal with this group of black fog monsters? Yiqing Luo swiftly evaded these monsters' attacks while in her mind, she summoned Old Man Tsang for help. Old Man Tsang, tell me quickly. How do we deal with these monsters? In the blink of an eye. The 2 monsters had grasped the opportunity. Simply and crudely, he pounced forward. Luo girl. Be careful. Old Man Tsang's voice resounded in his mind, these monsters can be destroyed with the Thunderclap art. Thunderclap arts? Reward for the 2nd floor of the Purgatory Tower? No. She could not use the Thunder Crash arts. This was a monster from the dark forces. Everything she did would be transmitted to the dark forces through these monsters. She used the Thunder Crash spell, which meant that the Azure Dew bracelet and the secret of the Purgatory Tower would be exposed. The current her had no confidence to protect the Azure Dew bracelet. Chapter 2292. Las Luo. Now is not the time to hesitate. Old Man Tsang bellowed in panic, be careful in front. Yiqing Luo regained her senses as she looked at the 2 monsters pouncing forward. One of the monsters' hand was already on her wrist. A gush of extreme coldness, as though it came from the depths of hell, struck her. Yiqing Luo violently shook off the monster's hand as she retreated backwards. The monster behind her had apparently guessed her next move. At the moment when she retreated, the 2 hands turned into balls of profound Een chi, shrouding Yiqing Luo in an overwhelming manner. Yiqing Luo's eyes were gloomy, her fingers moved and the long sword in her hand turned into a ray of cold light, trying to force the profound Een chi to retreat. Suddenly, Yiqing Luo sensed the surrounding air, stagnated for a moment. The powerful and vigorous aura tore a hole in the layers of mysterious Een energy that were shrouding them. Following that, the balls of profound Een chi suddenly collapsed. Bam! A burst of biting cold profound energy brushed past her cheek. Yiqing Luo could clearly see that the black fog monster which was trying to coil around her had actually turned into a puddle of black smoke, as it dissipated cleanly without leaving any traces behind. Bam! Another burst of profound energy landed. The monster which attacked from behind Yi Qing Luo was also dispersed. There was a helper? Yi Qing Luo's expression did not relax, instead her brows creased, she moved her body vigilantly, stood aside and turned her head to look at the direction where the profound energy came from. A few monsters were dispersed and did not regenerate. Yun Xiang was also stunned by this scene. He hid behind the monster, his back against the stone wall as he looked around. Who was playing tricks on him? Whoever dares to be a busybody, I will kill them too. The air was quiet. Yi Qing Luo did not manage to find any traces of the figure. Her heart skipped a beat. The person's ability was absolutely strong. She actually could not sense it. But she could confirm, that person was nearby. Yun Xiang took a deep breath, looking at the dozens of monsters, he tried to give an order, continue to attack. Kill that slut. Find the director. The monsters did not hesitate to obey the order. Bang, bang, bang. This time, it was no longer a small profound energy attack. Instead, it was a wave of surging dark force that engulfed those monsters. Yun Xiang watched in disbelief as the wave of dark force devoured the monsters bit by bit. Yi Qing Luo was also stunned by this scene. Who exactly was it that could actually use profound energy to directly disperse this profound yin qi? An elder of the Heavenly Academy? He's actually colluding with the dark forces. This is interesting. A clear voice leisurely rang in everyone's ears. Yun Xiang felt a chill down his spine. That voice, it came from behind him. No. Behind him was a stone wall. However, he still couldn't help but jerk his head to look behind him. His neck was strangled by a slender, creamy hand. Yun Xiang and Yi Qing Luo saw the incoming person. What entered his eyes was an extremely cold and elegant ocean blue dress. Her appearance was cold and beautiful, and a silk belt around her waist perfectly outlined her slender waist. She raised her hand and the spacious ocean blue sleeve slid down to her wrist. Her 5 fingers, locked onto Yun Xiang's neck tightly, without any signs of loosening. That lady looked like she was only 16 or 17 years old, but her beauty was soul-stirring. Even Yi Qing Luo couldn't help but be tempted. Chapter 2293. The woman clutched Yun Xiang's neck as she slowly walked towards Yi Qing Luo. Her swaying posture was extremely graceful. Finally, she stood in front of Yi Qing Luo. Her aura was instantly intimidating. That icy cold face was like a beauty blossoming on an iceberg, proud and aloof. Her beautiful eyes fell coldly onto Yi Qing Luo. Her jet-black pupils were suffused with a faint sea light, extremely mysterious. Yi Qing Luo stared blankly at the sudden appearance of the woman. He watched as she easily destroyed those black fog monsters. He watched as she strangled Yun Xiang's neck with one hand, not showing any mercy at all. Watching her walking step by step in front of her, that icy cold look. Yi Qing Luo's heart was shaken. What kind of woman was she? She was so powerful that even she was shocked. The woman's coldness was different from Tong Zi Qing's coldness. But it was a kind of extremely flamboyant, extremely arrogant coldness. Are you all right? The woman's voice was cold as she spoke indifferently. Yi Qing Luo was stunned again. I'm fine. The woman's cold eyes glanced at Yun Xiang, who was almost suffocating. Do you want him to die? Temporarily. No need. Yi Qing Luo stared at her as she replied. Oh. The woman responded indifferently as she casually threw Yun Xiang onto the ground. Yun Xiang almost lost half his life. Yi Qing Luo didn't pay attention to Yun Xiang as she stared straight at the woman in front of her. Who are you? Jun Qing Wu. The cold words came out from the woman's mouth. Jun Qing Wu? Yi Qing Luo searched for this name in her mind. Extremely unfamiliar. She frowned slightly as she was very surprised. How could there be no legends about such a powerful and shocking woman in the martial arts world? Unless, this person was not from Nirvana realm. This thought made Yi Qing Luo's pink lips trembled slightly. She was about to speak when she was interrupted by Jun Qing Wu's cold voice. I am a student from the class of gods. Class of gods student? Yi Qing Luo wanted to ask but was forcefully held back. She stared at Jun Qing Wu's face. I have not seen you in class of gods. I was on leave for the past few days. Jun Qing Wu replied indifferently, I just came back today and ran into this matter. Yi Qing Luo nodded thoughtfully. In other words, when Jun Qing Wu was returning to the academy, he happened to see her being chased by Yun Xiang, so he followed her into the heavenly training forest and saved her? Why did it feel, what felt strange? It felt exactly the same as when she showed up and saved the principal from Yun Xiang's hands. An elder of the heavenly academy colluded with the dark forces. This matter must be reported to the academy. Jun Qingwu said lightly. Why did he chase after you? Yi Qing Luo's long and narrow eyes curved as the luster flickered and suddenly laughed out. Of course, if possible, can student Jun be the witness? Troublesome, Jun Qingwu rejected coldly without hesitation, her eyes filled with impatience. Let's go back to the class of gods. If you found it troublesome, you wouldn't have saved me just now. Yi Qing Luo's pink lips curled up as she smiled and leaned forward. Student Jun must have his own motive for saving me. She smiled and her body softened as she leaned on Jun Qingwu's arm. The woman's fragrance was like the winter plum in the cold winter, extremely elegant. Chapter 2294. Jun Qingwu squinted her cold eyes. Her penetrating gaze seemed as though she could see through Yi Qing Luo's soul. Yi Qing Luo smiled lightly and even inched closer, making eye contact with her. After some time, Jun Qingwu replied calmly, yes, I have a motive for saving you. But I'm not interested in being a witness. This chick was pretty honest, huh? Yi Qing Luo laughed lightly, alright, then I won't force you. Jun Qingwu glanced at the direction where the director was hiding. I'm going back to the class of gods, remember this favor you owe me. Yi Qing Luo smiled bitterly. What she hated the most was to owe a favor. But unfortunately, this girl wanted a favor. It looked like this girl's motive for saving her was rather complicated. But Jun Qingwu's appearance had prevented her from using the thunderclap arts and also speedily dealt with the black fog monster, so that she didn't waste too much time. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled upwards, her brows were filled with tranquility. I'll remember it. Jun Qingwu didn't say anything else as she turned around and left. Just like when she came, mysterious, noble and elegant. The matter has been settled, come out. Yi Qing Luo said indifferently. The director climbed out from the haystack. His head was still mixed with a few strands of hair and his clothes were also covered with grass. He stuck his head out, earlier. That young lady, is she your helper? The director was too far away and didn't hear the conversation between Yi Qing Luo and that lady. Only through the gaps of the haystack, he saw that Yi Qing Luo and that lady seemed to be extremely intimate. Yi Qing Luo shook her head and tugged the black robe on her to cover herself more tightly before changing her tone. That's a student from the class of gods, you don't know her? Class of gods? The director was stunned and looked around to make sure that there was no longer any danger before he walked out from the haystack. The matters of the class of gods have never been under the school's jurisdiction. As for what students there are in the class of gods, I don't know. Yi Qing Luo raised her brows. It seemed like it would be impossible to get information about that woman from the dean. Forget it, anyway she still had a month's time to spend in the class of gods. She would eventually find out that lady's motive. Yi Qing Luo took a look at Yun Xiang who was sprawled on the ground, unable to move. I'll leave the remaining matters to you, don't disappoint me. These words made the dean somewhat displeased. He had always been the one giving the orders. But now, he was passively listening to the orders of a strange woman. However, he had no other choice. The dean vented his hatred on Yun Xiang. His gaze was vicious as he clenched his fists tightly. Under Yi Qing Luo's medicinal pills, he had regained some energy as he walked towards Yun Xiang. Looking at the dean's furious footsteps, Yi Qing Luo curled her lips slightly and quietly disappeared from the heavenly training forest. The next day, before dawn, a sensational event happened in the Heavenly Academy and the whole academy was awakened. When the academy guards were patrolling outside the training forest, they discovered the academy principal, who was covered in wounds and on the verge of death, and Yun Xiang, who was gripping his neck tightly. Beside him, there were 4 people in black robes. Cloud heard the noise and rushed over. He quickly sent the dean to the infirmary. The dean's injuries were extremely severe, both internal and external. Yun Xiang had also suffered from internal injuries and his throat was injured by the profound energy, rendering him unable to speak. Those 4 black-robed men were already dead. After Yun Tian's verification, they were from the dark forces. This verification stunned the elders who rushed over upon hearing the news. The dark forces people actually appeared in the Heavenly Academy? Why didn't any of them detect it? Chapter 2295. The dean was injured like this. There was a barrier device in the academy but it was not touched. What was going on? The elders began to check the barrier device and found that, the barrier device was indeed tampered with. The news quickly spread to the faculty council. Immediately, Si Yenmu put down the work in his hands and rushed to the medical hall. Si Yenmu's face was full of anxiety and his tightly knitted brows revealed a hint of ruthlessness. The students who were passing by could not help but sigh in their hearts. Their president was really like a male god. Not only was he good-looking, he was so worried about the dean's health. When Si Yenmu hurriedly rushed to the medical hall, he saw that there were a few elders from the elders' quarters there. There were even 2 elders from the General Institute present at the scene. Si Yenmu's heart skipped a beat. Why would there be people from the headquarters here? He quickly walked into the dean's room and saw the dean leaning weakly against the headboard on the sickbed with a pale face. Under the bed, Yun Xiang was twitching non-stop. He opened his mouth and wanted to speak but could not say a word. When he saw Si Yenmu, Yun Xiang's eyes turned quickly and blinked at Si Yenmu. This action attracted everyone's attention. One by one, they cast their gaze on Si Yenmu. Si Yenmu was slightly startled and quickly collected his thoughts and walked over with a worried face. What is going on? He turned his head to look at the elders. He missed the haze that flashed across the dean's eyes. The dean's hand that was hanging in the bedding clenched tightly. Sure enough, it was as the mysterious woman had guessed. The plan failed and Si Yenmu wanted to bite back at him. When he saw that he was injured and lying on the bed, he did not even say a word of concern. He just wanted to, directly bite back at him. The dean sneered in his heart but on the surface, he put on an extremely angry expression and spoke before the elders. Yun Xiang, this traitor. He betrayed the Heavenly Academy and joined the Dark Forces. Last night, he tried to use the Dark Forces to kill me. He gritted his teeth as he spoke and the veins on his forehead were throbbing. President, since you are here, I will leave this matter to you to handle. I need to recuperate in the near future. The dean's face was filled with righteous indignation. Si Yenmu frowned and looked into the eyes of the dean. However, the dean suddenly blinked his eyes, as if he wanted to convey something to him. Si Yenmu was startled. Could it be that the headmaster still didn't know that Yun Xiang was under his orders? Under the concise and comprehensive explanation of the elders, Si Yenmu was also clear of the current situation. It turned out that in the middle of the night last night, Yun Xiang had used a secret technique to sneak into the ancestral hall, knocked him out, and brought him out of the ancestral hall. But not long after, the dean came to his senses and wanted to retaliate. He did not expect Yun Xiang to call the 4 remaining members of the underworld organization. He escaped all the way to the heavenly training forest, but he did not expect Yun Xiang to bring the remnants of the dark forces and chase after him. After a great battle. Although the dean had killed the remaining members of the dark faction and subdued Yun Xiang, the dark faction was not as powerful as Yun Xiang. But he himself was also seriously injured. Fortunately, he always had a life-saving elixir on him at all times to extend his life in time. Otherwise, he really would have died in the academy. Chapter 2296. The dean was touched and cupped one hand in the other before his chest. With this action, he coughed violently again. The elder of the dean quickly stepped forward to support him and asked him not to be overly courteous. For a moment, the whole room was filled with greetings. Si Yenmu knitted his brows tightly and looked at the dean suspiciously. The dean himself was a member of the dark forces. Yun Xiang and 4 people from the dark forces were after him. Did he suspect something? He knew that the dark forces did not intend to keep him alive. So, in for a penny, in for a pound, in for a pound. He wanted to use this matter to clear himself of being related to the dark forces. He wanted to ask for help from the dean. Si Yenmu stared at the dean and suddenly lowered his eyes to look at Yun Xiang, who was lying on the ground with a pleading look. Dean, Elder Yun Xiang has been in the academy for decades and has been loyal to the academy. Why would he betray the heavenly academy? Dean, are you sure that you did not fall into someone's plot? There was silence in the room. After a long while, Yun Duan looked at Si Yenmu with a helpless and unbearable expression. We do not want to believe that it was Yun Xiang, but... On the barrier device, there was a piece of white cloth. It was clearly embroidered with the word Xiang. He looked at Yun Xiang's sleeves. The sleeves of the elders will be embroidered with their names, and the place where Yun Xiang's name was embroidered, there was indeed a hole. If it was Elder Yun Xiang, why would he be so stupid to leave his own things for you to find out? Si Yenmu frowned and stared at the elder with his gentle eyes. Yun Duan frowned slightly and looked at Si Yenmu with a strange look, as if he did not know him. Near the spirit formation device is a protective membrane made of steel. Usually, it is the headmaster and I who go over to check if the device is operating normally. Occasionally, we would get our clothes or hair scratched by those uneven protective membranes. Moreover, I have never noticed that I have been scratched by them. Before last night, Yun Xiang had never gone to the barrier device. In other words, last night, it was Yun Xiang who went to the barrier device and tampered with it. It was to kill the dean. Not only that, we also compared the injuries on the dean's body. They were indeed caused by the mysterious Yin Qi. Elder Yun Xiang's body also has the aura of the mysterious Yin Qi. The doctor sitting in the medical hall said. Si Yenmu pursed his lips and quickly adjusted himself. His own emotions were restored to calmness and gentleness. So that's the case, I'm sorry. After working with Elder Yun Xiang for so long, when I heard that he did such a thing, my feelings were very complicated and agitated. Before the head elder could speak. However, he heard the hospital director's friendly laughter coming from the hospital bed. President, the way you looked at me just now gave me a fright. If I didn't know you well, I would have thought that you and Yun Xiang were in cahoots. Si Yenmu's face stiffened. This time, he was completely sure. The headmaster already knew the reason for Yun Xiang's betrayal. It was because Yun Xiang had turned to his side. The dean also knew that he was the one who wanted to kill him. However, what made Si Yenmu curious was, the dean had always been a coward. This time, he actually dared to openly provoke him. Moreover, with the dean's skills. He was able to kill 4 people from the dark forces and cripple Yunxiang. Behind the dean. There was someone helping him. The purpose was to overthrow him. Si Yenmu's eyes flashed and he laughed secretly in his heart. Chapter 2297. Class of Gods. 2 classes had just finished their physical training. Those who were drinking water were drinking water, those who were wiping their sweat were wiping their sweat. There were even a few who had collapsed on the training ground and closed their eyes to rest. After the physical training, they had 1 hour's rest time before the next training mission. Yiqing Luo took a piece of white silk and wiped the sweat on her forehead. Her gaze wandered around the surroundings. After a round of training, Yiqing Luo didn't notice that girl named Jun Qingwu. Wasn't she a student from the class of gods? Didn't she return to the class of gods early in the morning? Why didn't she see her during the training? Or could it be, that girl was actually lying to her? Qing Luo, who are you looking for? Tong Zi Qing walked over. You seem to be looking for someone from the class of gods since this morning's gathering. Yiqing Luo shook her head. But her gaze was suddenly fixed on one person. That person's gaze was looking over. To be precise, it was looking at Tong Zi Qing. I heard that the day before yesterday, Si Minghan gave up on the competition and specially ran back to the actual combat training forest to look for you for the entire night. Yiqing Luo raised her head and looked at the girl standing behind her. Tong Zi Qing's pupils suddenly contracted. Her eyelashes trembled unnaturally. Him looking for me is his own matter. Even this didn't move your heart? Yiqing Luo raised her pink lips, stood up and hooked Tong Zi Qing's shoulder. To tell the truth, when I heard this news, I was touched. He was just bored and wanted to find someone to tease. Tong Zi Qing pursed her red lips and turned her face away. Her voice was calm and steady. So, don't tease me. Yiqing Luo patted her shoulder. Silly girl, sometimes, stubbornness is not necessarily right. For matters of the heart, only you can choose according to your heart, that is the right choice. Of course, I'm not advising you to give up on Zhan, after all. You've had a crush on him for so many years, it's not that easy to forget. But from an outsider's point of view, when you say this, I have to refute it for Si Minghan. If he was bored and wanted to tease you, there's no need to use his own body as a joke. You should also know that he searched the forest for you for an entire night. He ran through every corner of the forest and almost lost his life to the claws of the magical beasts several times. And yesterday, in order to ensure your safety, in order to train together with you, even with my injuries, I forced myself to participate in the strengthened training. If that's the case, you still think that he's just bored and trying to have fun with you, then I have nothing to say. Tong Zi Qing wanted to interrupt Yiqing Luo several times. But hearing Yiqing Luo's words, her red lips pursed even tighter. The more she listened, the lower she lowered her head. Yes, Tong Ziqing could feel it. She could sense that he was joking and serious. He just didn't want to believe it. Love at first sight. It sounded wonderful. But in reality, it wasn't as beautiful as it seemed. She fell in love with Long Yunzhan at first sight, but it was only because she was moved at first sight that she fell deeply in love with him later on. However, Si Minghan's love at first sight was too sudden, so sudden that she couldn't believe it. They couldn't believe it either. She loved Long Yunzhan. This was something that no one could change. Even Si Minghan was the same. Rather than giving Si Minghan hope, she might as well pretend that she didn't know anything. Feelings that couldn't be reciprocated. Moreover, 1 month later, they would return to the devil class. Chapter 2298. Looking at Tong Zi Qing's drooping eyelids, struggling but stubbornly biting her lips. Yiqing Luo could also tell the choice in Tong Ziqing's heart. She sighed softly. Everyone's love was different. Their attitude towards love was different too. Tong Ziqing loved Long Yunzhan so much that she couldn't see Si Minghan. This was Tong Ziqing's choice. She couldn't force Tong Ziqing to do anything. Yiqing Luo raised her hand and patted Tong Ziqing's shoulder lightly. I only hope that you can be truly happy. Tong Ziqing's petite body trembled slightly. Happy? She already didn't know whether she was happy or not. It seemed that Long Yunzhan could take a look at her, speak to her and stand in front of her to protect her without hesitation. She was happy. But the more happiness she had, what followed was even more loneliness and sadness. She had loved Long Yunzhan for too long. She really didn't know if her happiness was still important. It seemed that she really loved someone. So much that she didn't even have herself. This thought caused Tong Ziqing's entire body to be stunned. She turned her head as though she was escaping and quickly left the training ground, heading towards a direction where there was no one around. Her mind was in a mess. Tong Ziqing had long forgotten about the question she asked Yiqing Luo about who she was looking for. Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased slightly as she looked at Tong Ziqing's panicked back view. She wanted to chase up. But from the corner of her eyes, she saw someone from the class of gods chasing up. Yiqing Luo put down her raised foot. Si Minghan he really liked Tong Ziqing. His gaze had always been focused, only accommodating Tong Ziqing alone. Being loved by such a person should be blissful. But Tong Ziqing probably wouldn't be able to walk out of the cage set by Long Yunzhan. But she should give Si Minghan a chance to open the door to Tong Ziqing's heart. If Tong Ziqing continued to love Long Yunzhan and he still didn't respond, it would be too tiring. The next moment, Yiqing Luo saw. A blue figure flashed past her and chased towards the direction where Tong Ziqing and Si Minghan disappeared. He bumped into Yiqing Luo and was totally unaware. The only thought in his mind was to quickly catch up. Not far away, Yan Xiaoyi, who was nestled in Xiao Jin's arms, mischievously looked at the scene before her. She clicked her tongue and said, "Class monitor looks like he's moved. Doesn't he like Qing Luo?" Xiao Jin gently fed her water. Yan Xiaoyi drank a mouthful of water in satisfaction as the cooling feeling eased her fatigue. Under such a strong opponent like the Overlord, you still like Qing Luo, aren't you just looking for death? Xiao Jin nodded in agreement. That's true. But Class Monitor still hasn't realized that his feelings towards Qing Luo is no longer the love he thought it was. Yan Xiaoyi stretched her waist in Xiao Jin's embrace. I hope that Si Minghan's appearance will make the Class Monitor understand her own heart. Otherwise, our goddess Ziqing will be hurt again. Yiqing Luo held on to her injured elbow. She burst out laughing. Indeed, the appearance of a love rival could truly allow one to understand their own heart. Their Mr. Class Monitor was finally going to be enlightened? Yiqing Luo rubbed her own arm and a concerned voice floated over her head. Student Yiqing Luo, your arm, is it all right? Yiqing Luo raised her head and her eyes were filled with smiles as she replied politely, Teacher Yi, I'm fine. Teacher Yi smiled as he looked at the young lady in front of him. Chapter 2299. They had intensified their special training yesterday and today, they had intensified their training to a new level. The students from the class of God were obviously lacking in today's special training. But the students from the devil class were still fighting bravely. This kind of spirit was really shocking to these teachers. And also very curious. What kind of method did the students from the devil class use to grow to this stage? This was crucial to their teaching career. Hence, Teacher Yi was sent out to inquire about the news. Do you need to rest? Teacher Yi asked with a smile. Yiqing Luo took off the soft silk from her neck and put it aside. Coincidentally, I have something to ask Teacher Yi. Do you have time to chat? Teacher Yi beamed with joy. Come, let's go over there. The two of them walked one after another to the training ground, to the stone table where the teachers were resting. Yiqing Luo sat down. Teacher Yi went straight to the point. Student Yiqing Luo, before you entered the devil class, these students. Before you entered the devil class, how was their performance? Yiqing Luo understood. It seemed that Teacher Yi was very interested in the students of the devil class. She replied with a smile, when I first entered the devil class, I was almost taught a lesson by them. Actually, the students in the devil class are not the so-called waste, they are just using the mask of waste to cover up their true selves. Teacher Yi stroked his beard. Which meant that the changes in the devil class had nothing to do with Yiqing Luo. Teacher Yi looked in the direction of the devil class. Then do you know how many students in your class are not from the Heavenly Academy? How many? Yiqing Luo was stunned for a moment. Are you trying to say, kitty? That's a cat beast from the beastman race, has it contracted with you? As someone from the upper realm, Teacher Yi naturally recognized Kitty Lee's identity. Yiqing Luo nodded calmly. With Kitty Lee's identity, it was easy to fool the people from the Nirvana realm. The people from the upper realm had some understanding of the beastman race. With a little careful observation, they could clearly discover Kitty Lee's true identity. Teacher Yi's eyes were filled with admiration. To be able to subdue a beastman to form a contract with him, and a little girl from the lower domain at that, it was truly rare. He stroked his beard and threw out the next question. There's another one. Yan Xiao Yi. The faculty council doesn't have her information either. Xiao Yi. Yiqing Luo's eyes revealed a puzzled expression. When I joined Devil class, Xiao Yi was already a veteran student in Devil class, faculty council. How could it be possible that there's no information on her? Her words had just stopped. Yiqing Luo thought of something. The last time, when Yan Zhenfei stole the portraits of the students from the faculty council and Devil class, she had also said, in the portrait, there was no Yan Xiao Yi. Could it be that Yan Xiao Yi was afraid that Yan Zhenfei, who was working in the faculty council, would discover her identity, so she purposely hid her identity? There's another student. She's the one who is the most low-key amongst all of you, but the one who isn't simple, Mo Yuing. Teacher Yi then pointed at the little girl who stood in the corner like a soulless puppet, staring blankly into space. Mo Yuying's true identity was the island sage of Godless Island. She didn't have anyone by her side in the faculty council, so she stayed in Devil class? This Heavenly Academy's system was really inconceivable. Easily able to let students who weren't from the Heavenly Academy enter the Heavenly Academy. After that, she openly appeared in the Academy. The Academy actually didn't know about it. Chapter 2300. Devil classes change, is it because of them? Teacher Yi lowered his voice and asked meaningfully. Yiqing Luo concealed the deep glint in her eyes as she gave a polite smile. I'm not too sure. But during this period of time in Devil class, the only thing I can be sure of is that they all sincerely treat themselves as Devil class's students. Pausing for a moment, Yiqing Luo's eyes sparkled with sincerity. Why would they come to Devil class? I think it's because they wish to have a place to stay. Teacher Yi was stunned. Suddenly, he recalled his investigation on the three people. A beast human cat beast, Yiqing Luo's contracted beast, she naturally had to stay by Yiqing Luo's side. There was no one in charge of Devil class, so it was understandable for Kitty Lee to be placed in Devil class. And one was the Yen family's second miss. Her days in the Yen family were miserable, and finally she couldn't take it anymore, so she escaped from the Yen family. The Yen family had no feelings for this missing second miss, and no one went to look for her. Devil class was indeed the only place for Yan Xiaoyi and that mysterious young lady. Until now, they were still unable to find any information about that young lady. However, such a strange little girl who never seemed to know how to socialize and communicate with others. To be able to get along so harmoniously with everyone in Devil class, it showed that the feelings between them were indeed sincere. Since they have already lived in Devil class for so long, then Devil class belongs to all of us. None of our family members can be missing. Yiqing Luo looked at Teacher Yi smilingly, with a serious look on her face. So Teacher Yi, regarding Devil class's students, I hope you won't tell the academy. Teacher Yi stroked his beard and laughed out loud. If I wanted to say, I wouldn't have specially come to ask you. I just want to know, what method did your Devil class use to have such a huge change, and as compared to the class of gods, it's even stronger. This really makes us three teachers blush with shame. Method? Yiqing Luo tilted her head and pondered for a moment. How should I put it? What can change a person, can never escape from the word love. Friendship, love, kinship. Or hatred, disgust, and so on. She continued, because there is love in one's heart. Perhaps it is the desire to protect someone, or perhaps it is the desire to be acknowledged by someone, or perhaps it is the desire to become stronger, or perhaps it is the desire to take something back. These are all reasons why a person changes and becomes stronger. As Yiqing Luo said that, she looked towards those 10 students who were resting in Devil class. Her charming eyes were filled with a warm brilliance. She curled her lips and smiled warmly. As for the Devil class, maybe they want to protect the Devil class, to protect the affection between them. Teacher Yi was taken aback. His hand, which was stroking his beard, paused slightly. After a while, he let out a low laugh. I understand now, it's no wonder. The innate talents of the God class are so good, but they can't compare to the students of the Devil class. Yiqing Luo smiled but didn't continue the conversation. I have another question. Teacher Yi also looked towards the direction of the Devil class. Every student in the academy has a student's wooden plaque. On it, there will be detailed records of every student's profound rank changes. These changes could be observed by the Elders Department at any time. Why is it that, after so many years, the profound grade of the Devil class's students' wooden tablets has never changed? Chapter 2301. The Academy's Wooden Plate? That thing. After it was taken away by Long Yunzhan and sealed away, she had forgotten about it. If I have the intention to avoid the Academy's attention, I will naturally think of ways to avoid any possibility of being discovered. Yiqing Luo replied frankly. Teacher Yi nodded thoughtfully. You bunch of kids. If only I had discovered you earlier and accepted you all into the God class. His words were to probe Yiqing Luo. They indeed had the intention to bring the 10 students from the class of devils to the class of gods for special training. These children were not as talented as the other students. However, after going through their special training, he would definitely become a powerful profounder. However, look at the affection between these students. Very likely, he would still choose to refuse. As expected, Yiqing Luo pretended not to understand and smiled lightly. Class of God students, their innate talent and learning ability are very strong. These 2 days of special training in Class of God, we have all benefited a lot. Teacher Yi didn't know what else to say. Then, he casually muttered a few words. There was only an incense stick's worth of time left to rest. Just as Teacher Yi was about to instruct Yiqing Luo to prepare for the upcoming training, he heard Yiqing Luo's indifferent voice. Teacher Yi, I would like to ask, is there a student in the class of gods, called Jun Qingwu? Jun Qingwu? Teacher Yi was taken aback. Yes. Is she not coming for today's special training? Yiqing Luo frowned slightly. Why was Teacher Yi's expression so strange at the mention of Jun Qingwu? It seemed like he was afraid of that student called Jun Qingwu. Fear? He was a headmaster from the upper three realms, how could he be afraid of a student? She should be. Teacher Yi's expression was slightly flustered. Suddenly, he seemed to have seen something from the corner of his eyes and immediately said, Of course she's here. Student Jun Qingwu has been busy these few days, so she hasn't come to school. She just returned today, so of course she'll be here for the special training. Saying that, he had already looked towards a certain direction behind Yi Qing Luo. Look, student Jun Qingwu is coming over. Yi Qing Luo followed Teacher Yi's gaze. A beautiful girl dressed in ocean blue slowly walked over. Her sea blue skirt was like a blooming platycodon. His icy cold face made him look extremely mysterious and noble. Jun Qingwu's arrival immediately attracted everyone's attention. However, Jun Qingwu turned a blind eye as she walked towards Yi Qing Luo's direction. Yi Qing Luo raised her eyebrows, but from the corner of her eyes, she caught a glimpse of Teacher Yi's trembling body staring at Jun Qingwu. It was as if he was nervous about something. Then, a student from the class of gods exclaimed, "Student Jun is back. Classmate Jun is back." Teacher Yi heaved a sigh of relief. Teacher. Jun Qingwu's cold voice drifted into his ears like a cold current. I'm back. Teacher Yi swallowed his saliva and smiled. It's good that you're back, it's good that you're back. It's almost time for the next training. Jun Qingwu, hurry up and get ready. As he spoke, he left as though he was escaping. In Yi Qing Luo's eyes, Master Yi was on the run. Why did he seem to be afraid of Jun Qingwu? Classmate Jun Qingwu, we meet again. Yi Qing Luo didn't think too deeply about it. She wasn't interested in delving into the secrets of the class of gods. Jun Qingwu glanced at her indifferently. You're quite energetic. Last night, because of the matter between the director and the dark forces, she had been tormented for the whole night. Now she could still participate in the special training. Chapter 2302. Jun Qingwu's energy isn't bad either. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled up, her imposing manner didn't lose to hers. Jun Qingwu's eyes turned cold. With just a glance at Yi Qing Luo, she sat directly on the seat that Teacher Yi was sitting on. His dignified appearance did not resemble that of a student at all. His every movement exuded a noble aura. Thinking back to last night, Jun Qingwu was able to break through the dark secret technique with a casual wave of her hand. In the blink of an eye, those black fog monsters were destroyed. Such a woman, did he still need to study in the class of gods? It could be said that it was because of Teacher Yi's attitude. Yi Qing Luo could sense it. This woman's status had long surpassed that of the headmaster. Suddenly, Yi Qing Luo seemed to have thought of something. Her eyes lit up and her gaze was like a torch as she stared at Jun Qingwu. You. What is your relationship with Dmo Xian? Jun Qingwu slowly raised her eyes. Her gaze was as cold as 1,000-year frost. If this kind of gaze was placed on an ordinary person, they would probably be frozen to death under this frost. But Yi Qing Luo didn't seem to notice it at all. She quickly sat down. It's you. Xian and the palace master of the Upper Xian Palace wanted me to find you. She used a declarative sentence, not a question. The woman who knew the location of the sacred beast pearl was Jun Qingwu. Jun Qingwu's personality was actually quite similar to Zhu Wuxin's. They were all cold and unfeeling. He would never take anything to heart. But last night, in that kind of emergency, Jun Qingwu had saved her. If she wasn't someone Jun Qingwu knew, or someone who was useful to Jun Qingwu would never have helped her. Most importantly, she had covered herself with a loose black robe last night, which had changed her voice. Even if the devil-class students were to stand in front of her, they might not be able to recognize her. However, Jun Qingwu had calmly revealed her identity. It was as if he was certain that she was a student of the class of gods. Moreover, Jun Qingwu had made it very clear that she had a motive for saving her. Which meant that right from the start, Jun Qingwu knew that the person under the black robe was her, Yiqing Luo. Therefore, only then did Jun Qingwu lend a helping hand. The reason for Jun Qingwu's attack, it must be. Dmo Xian had mentioned it to her. Furthermore, the student who knew the whereabouts of the Saint Beast orb that the palace master of the Upper Xian Hall had mentioned. It could only be Jun Qingwu. Jun Qingwu raised her brows, her icy cold beautiful eyes fixed on Yiqing Luo. You're very smart. In other words, Yiqing Luo's guess was right. I've always been curious as to what's so special about the woman that Di Zun fancied. Now, I finally understand. Jun Qingwu stood up calmly. I promised Di Zun that I would protect you when he's not around. So, please don't cause too much trouble or I'll get annoyed. The woman's cold voice was devoid of any emotion. It was extremely cold. Yiqing Luo was slightly stunned. Dmo Xian asked Jun Qingwu to protect her? This was the reason why Jun Qingwu had saved her last night? However, why did Dmo Xian let such a beautiful and courageous woman to protect him? Isn't it enough for her to have Beiyuan as her secret guard? Wasn't Dmo Xian afraid that because she was jealous of Jun Qingwu's beauty and power, she would be willful and unreasonable? Yiqing Luo expressed, how could she let such a noble and mysterious existence protect her? She was under a lot of pressure. Although Yiqing Luo's expression didn't change much. But that pair of eyes was bursting with a myriad of changes. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.